was unacceptable.
If true, we strongly condemn this action and call for their immediate release. And over the past week, we've unfortunately seen an increase in a rapid escalation in hostage takings by pro-Russian separatists. We condemn this repressive and cowardly tactic and call for the release of all hostages.
Former members of the crew of the South Korean ferry that sank 10 days ago have been detained. All 15 crew members are now in custody. 187 bodies have been recovered from the vessel and 115 passengers are still missing. West Midlands Police insist that stalking is taken seriously as a Black Country man starts a jail sentence for harassing a woman who later committed suicide. The judge at Birmingham Crown Court said 29-year-old Kalmajit Sidhu was controlled by Ryan Day from Oldbury during their 18-month relationship. She took her own life a week after breaking up with the 23-year-old, who's been sentenced to 2 years in prison after pleading guilty. The family have called for better police training to help catch stalkers, but Detective Chief Inspector Kim Medill told BBC WM they do have measures in place.
As the judge rightly said, Parliament recognised the fact that stalking was really serious and changed the legislation about 18 months ago to reflect the fact that how serious stalking is. And as I've said before, you know, if you are a victim, please do not suffer in silence. Contact somebody and tell them about the abuse that you're suffering so we can help you.
Tougher rules for getting a mortgage come into force today, meaning lenders will be obliged to ensure the borrower can afford their mortgage, not just now, but in the future as well. So from now on, people applying for a mortgage could be asked anything from how much they pay for a haircut to what they spend on takeaways every month. Peter Hunt is the mortgage expert at Money Watch Finance in Birmingham.
The days of lenders not checking people's incomes, not checking what their lifestyles are, those days are going to be long gone. They're going to make sure if they're going to lend money, it's going to be a sum of money that can be paid back.
Sport and Aston Villa have made the trip to Swansea City for this afternoon's game at the Liberty Stadium. There'll be exclusive FM commentary here on BBC WM 95.6 from 3 o'clock. Our build-up starts at midday with Jenny Wilkes sitting in for Daz Hale on early kick-off. With the Villa owner Randy Lerner refusing to confirm or deny rumours that he's about to sell up, there's a cloud of uncertainty surrounding the club. The manager, Paul Lambert, says the American businessman will make things clear in his own good time.
Come the end of the season, Randy will say what he's got to say, and I think everybody has to respect that. It's his club, his baby as such. Everybody has to respect that. He's been brilliant to me as an individual. As I said, I'm not privy to everything that goes on. I'm just here to try and win games.
The weather rain throughout today, but the showers will become less frequent this afternoon. The top temperature 14 Celsius, 57 Fahrenheit. Blustery showers this evening, but it will feel mild, with the temperatures going no lower tonight than 8 Celsius, 46 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The Voice. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
Okay, just a message to all my detractors. I am not boring, okay? I am not boring. Even if members of the BBC WM 95.6 team are saying it, I, dear listener, am not boring. Thank you to Molly, by the way, for an excellent show. I did enjoy the call about garlic. Did you hear the garlic call on Molly's show? Oh, it was excellent. What a wonderful person that was. Lots to talk about this morning, including, if you've ever been abroad, you'll empathise with this one. We're British, aren't we? We're British, and we like to queue. We respect the queue. Well, I spent last week in Paris. In Paris the city, in Paris the Disney. And none of those suckers, I said suckers, none of them were respecting the queue. There was no queue respect going on, and I was getting furious. And what made it even worse is my wife found it hilarious. We'll be talking about respecting the queue a little bit later on. You can give me a call as well and let me know what things annoy you when you go abroad. Coming up as well, this is this intrigues me. will be speaking to a mum who breastfeeds her child. Whoa, beautiful. Hey, listen, breastfeed your children. I think you should be able to breastfeed your kids anywhere. This kid's 5 years old. 5 years old. My boy is 4 years old, okay? And the thought of him supping on his mother's milk straight from the source. No, he is sentient. He is aware that those are boobies. He thinks that what I've got are boobies as well, but that's... in many ways, he's right these days. But before that, we'll be talking about cancer. It's something that's probably, excuse me, touched many of your lives. And it's always seen as a negative thing. Of course it's a negative thing. It's a horrible, hideous disease. But are there some positives? Is it the way we look at cancer? Can we turn a negative into a positive? If you want to get in touch, 81333WM. Start your text WM. You can send me an email, iain.lee@bbc.co.uk. Or you can give me a call, 03453 00 9956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 00
9956.
BBC WM 95.6.
This breastfeeding thing we're going to do a bit later on. I must remember not to get angry because it disgusts me. It's wrong on so many. Breastfeeding at 5? At 5? When did we stop? When did my wife stop? I'm trying to think. Neither of my boys were particularly into the breastfeeding. The first one certainly wasn't. Before a year. I think at 5 they know what they're doing. They know what it is they're putting in their mouth and sucking on. It's not appropriate, is it? 03453 00 9956 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call on that. Respecting the queue and other things that annoy you when you go abroad. My holiday was ruined, and I mean ruined, by the fact that... and it wasn't just the French. Oh, no, it was just everybody who wasn't British. Members of the Arab nations, Germans, Italians. In fact, the French, I would say, were the 4th worst at it. There were others that were worse at respecting the queue. Oi, there's a queue here. I was thinking in my head when verbally I was just going, flipping heck. 03453 00 9956. Respecting the queue and other things that annoy you when you go abroad. But first of all, big story this week, hasn't it? Stephen Sutton. He's the young lad who's been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he released a bucket list, didn't he? And a bucket list, for those of you who don't know, is a list of things you want to achieve before you die. And he's written this list, and I think there's things like doing a bungee jump and, the kind of usual daredevil things. He also wanted to raise, I think, was it 10 grand he wanted to raise for the Teenage Cancer Trust? An excellent charity, a charity I have done work for myself. I say done work for. The work I did for the Teenage Cancer Trust involved me standing on stage at the Royal Albert Hall and going, ladies and gentlemen, The Who. Yeah, I got to introduce The Who on stage for the Teenage Cancer Trust, so I've got all the time in the world for those guys. But the Stephen Sutton, he had this bucket list. He wanted to raise 10 grand. It was in the Sun. It's kind of gone viral online. It's been on radio stations across the country. He's raised about £2.5 million. That was the last count. It's probably closer to 3 million now, I reckon, the rate it's going. And it's interesting, isn't it? He's got terminal cancer, OK? This lad's going to die. If I was told I had terminal cancer, I think I would just curl up in a ball and not do anything. I would not do anything. And yet this... I say that, I don't know. And yet this lad has turned an incredible negative into a fantastic positive. And he's not just benefiting from it, from the feeling that he's achieved something and he's making a difference. The Teenage Cancer Trust isn't aren't the only people benefiting from it because they're going to get £2.5 million. It seems to have had effect across... well, dare I say it? Yes, I dare. Across the whole country. People seem to have been buoyed by Stephen's story. It's put, certainly for a lot of people I've been talking to about this, it's put a lot of things in their lives in perspective. The traffic was rubbish, the weather's awful. Oh, I knocked my car the other day. I did knock my car the other day twice. Can you believe that? When you see the achievements that this young man is making, literally on his deathbed, it kind of puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? And so I want to ask you this morning, OK? And I've still not found a comfortable way of phrasing it. So that could be the first thing. What's a good way of phrasing this? So I'm going to come out with it with my initial ham-fisted, probably quite insensitive question, and then we can spend the rest of the morning honing it and taking off the rough edges, smoothing it down. What are the benefits that can come out of cancer? That's kind of the first stab at it, OK? How beneficial can cancer actually be? How positive can cancer actually be? Let's throw it out there like that. It's ham-fisted, it's jagged, it's awkward. Let's try and smooth off the rough edges. And I guess the way we're going to do that is by hearing your stories. Maybe you were diagnosed with cancer. Maybe a member of your family was. How devastating was it when you're sat there in the doctor's office, the surgeon's office, that you're on the phone, and you get that news? And what did your family, what did your friends do to turn that around and to turn it into a positive? And by positive, I don't necessarily mean you went and raised £2.5 million off the back of it. I suspect we won't get many stories like that. But maybe it drew you closer to members of your family that you hadn't seen for years. Maybe you did have a little bucket list and you did go off and do things and achieve things that you thought weren't possible. Maybe, I don't know. This is one of these ones where we're not aiming for a specific answer or hitting a specific angle. This is going to work entirely on your stories. So, how did cancer affect you, and how did you turn that negative into a positive? 03453 00 9956 is the telephone number. Stephen Sutton, of course, is the young lad that's kind of kicked this off for everybody. It raised nearly over £2.5 million for the Teenage Cancer Trust. Stephen's from Burntwood, and he's been diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he's released a YouTube video about his story. I'm saying YouTube like I'm an old man that's never heard of this internet site. Here's a snippet of Stephen's YouTube video.
The old saying goes, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. But what do you do when life gives you cancer? This is not a sob story, this is Stephen's story. I was diagnosed in September 2010. Altogether, I've undergone about 7 lots of surgery, 30 sessions of radiotherapy, and 4 different regimes of chemotherapy, and soon I'll be starting a 5th. The aim of Stephen's story is to spread as much positivity as possible, to show people what it's like to have something go wrong with your life but not to be defined by it.
I think one of the things that Stephen always stresses is, I may have cancer, but cancer doesn't have me. It doesn't have to be about suffering.
1 week after the original operation to remove tumours from my bowel, and one day I was at the hospital, I ended up going to a fancy dress party. The surgeon gave me advice to go home, take it easy and basically do nothing. But I decided to go to this party dressed as a granny in a wheelchair. And because of how much weight I'd lost and because of how thin and pale I was pretty convincing. But by the end of the night, I was being pushed around in front of a conga line in my wheelchair, having an absolutely fantastic time. And this was me from the off making a statement of how I was going to overcome my illness.
He's pretty remarkable, isn't he? And that probably sounds patronising, tough. It's not meant to be, it's genuine. It's Stephen Sutton, who's raised over £2.5 million for the Teenage Cancer Trust. He's from Burntwood. How have your family, how have your friends managed to turn the great negative of cancer into a positive? I might share my story a little bit later on about how it's affected my family, but I want to hear your stories first. Your stories are the ones that count this morning. 03453 00 9956. This is BBC WM 95.6. We'll take your calls in a bit, but before that, let's get the travel. Here's Liz Saul. Liz.
Thank you very much, Ian. Good morning. There are a couple of problems to contend with already this morning. Some sort of traffic problem affecting the A449 in the Himley area at the turning for the B4176. Please tell us they are on the way to the scene. We're also getting reports of an accident in the Wilnecote area at Kinsall Green at the junction with the A5. Again, officers on the way to the scene. It's rather slow in Tipton this morning or around Horsley Heath along the A461. And the A449 in Penkridge is still partially blocked because of an accident at the Boscombe Lane turning near the pedestrian crossing. Police are at the scene there. Better news on the M5 going north. That accident has been cleared from between junctions 6 and 5 in the roadworks towards the Droitwich exit and the A38. Obviously expect delays with your match day travel today. A lot of away traffic to contend with. Aston Villa are off to Swansea, so down the M5 and the M4 is a good 2.5 hours. So far those routes looking clear so far. If you can update us, 08453 002288.
Henry shoots from 30 yards out, and he has sealed it! That's the League One title in the bag!
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM
95.6.
03453 009956. I do wish that the conversations we had off air during the travel, and obviously we're listening to the travel and the news all the time, but the conversations that we have off air, we should record those and put those out as a special podcast. Producer Joe and I were arguing, get this, okay, because she can make herself go cross-eyed and I can't. Have you got a lazy eye? She said. Have you got a lazy eye? I said, no, I've not got a lazy eye. I've got a weak convergence. I'm virtually disabled. I should probably get a blue badge for that. If I make my eyes go cross-eyed, the left one swings back out. It's a medical condition. 03453 009956. We're talking about cancer this morning. We've heard the story of Stephen Sutton from Burntwood. We've heard the story all week. It's remarkable. Young lad has raised over £2.5 million for the Teenage Cancer Trust, and he's achieving lots of things. He's turning a great negative into a positive. I'm still think that's quite a clumsy way of describing it. The question is, how do you turn cancer into a positive? Are there positives of having cancer? It's ham-fisted. It's the best I've got at the moment. Want to help me make a better question? 03453 009956. Pop star Anastasia this week. Oh, I used to love Anastasia. That was her, wasn't it? She did that. She's had a double mastectomy. She says she wants to turn something negative into a positive. She's used it as an inspiration for her new record. Can there ever be anything positive about having cancer? 03453 009956. Let's speak now to Rachel Brown, who's author of The C List. Morning, Rachel.
Hiya.
Rachel Bone. Sorry, I do apologize.
Bown.
Right. I added an extra R there.
You did. Everyone does.
It's weird, isn't it? And I can see that there's no R there, but my brain has just inserted it.
You've self-corrected.
Yes, I have. Rachel, listen, thank you very much. Tell me your story. You've had cancer, haven't you?
Yeah, similar cancer to Stephen, actually. I've got advanced bowel cancer, so I've had quite a few surgeries and for cancer in the liver and bowel and various chemotherapy regimes. But I'm very luckily in remission for the second time, actually. I've been through it twice, so I'm in remission again, so I'm incredibly lucky.
I'm very lucky in that I've never been sat in a doctor's office and they've said, hey, you've got cancer. I've been sat there in the surgeon's office when my mum's been told she's got cancer, and I've had my dad on the phone telling me he's got it. Yep. But when the doctor, the surgeon, whoever is looking at you, Rachel, and tells you, how do you feel? What's your reaction?
Oh, gosh. Well, I think I honestly think I was in shock for 3 months, so I don't... the initial reaction isn't, it's just absolute horror and shock, and you do tend to think of death because that's, what unfortunately cancer is aligned with death in our mind. So it is your first thought. Second, I think the big thing, you were talking about your mother and your father, the biggest worry, and I'm talking to hundreds and hundreds of people going through this, it's the carers, your loved ones that go through, I would say almost worse than you do. So I would even having gone through what I've gone through, I'd much rather be in my position than being my children's or my mum and dad's, because I think that's by far the more frightening part of it, actually watching. Whereas when it's happening to you, you do have a choice of what you're going to do with that information. I mean, obviously you don't have a choice. You don't have a choice of what's going to happen to your body. I mean, that's the one big thing. I mean, the medical profession get hold of that and they carve it up, and off you go on the old medical route that they've defined for you. But you do have a choice about the way you look at it. And I think the sooner you can get your head round that and choose to, as Stephen's done, and so many other people do, and I try to do as well, was just to choose the way you were going to react to it, and make something good come out of it.
How did you manage to do that, Rachel? Because I imagine there are lots of people who, when they hear that news, give up and think, oh, well, there's no point in... How do you turn your attitude around?
Which I think for me, the two things that become the most important in your life, I think, you have an opportunity when you hear something like that you have a choice of what you want to do with the rest of your life. And the two things that you have that are the most precious things to you in your life now very quickly become time, for obvious reasons. You're worried that you're not going to have enough of it, and love. And having going through something like cancer, you do get... I mean, well, I can only speak for myself, but from people I've looked, you get showered with it. And it's incredible, the reaction it seems to drive from other people. So you do get surrounded by an awful lot of love, and of course you naturally want to be able to give some of that back and do something positive with that. And of course the shortage of time drives you to do things that perhaps you wouldn't normally do. So everything becomes fast-tracked, whether it's your friendships, your relationships, any decisions you make, you don't want to put anything off. You know that is the most precious commodity that you've got, and it gives you a massive kick up the bum. So it is something that you do choose. Well, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't like that. I don't particularly like that person. I don't want to do that. And you cut all that stuff out of your life, and then you do kind of redirect and focus yourself towards the things that are going to be going to give either put some good back into the world. I mean, we all want to leave the world a bit better than we found it, and we all want to leave thinking somebody thinks better of us than it's just natural human instinct. So I think you do want to try and turn that into something more positive, and put back some of the love that you've been given and some of the strength that you've been given, and turn it into something and help people. It becomes a very natural instinct that you want to help other people going through it. And that manifests itself in lots of different ways, fundraising.
Did you find, Rachel, just going off on a very slight tangent, did you find any of your friends disappeared when they found out you had cancer?
A few did, yeah. It's an odd one, because people that you think will step up don't necessarily, and other people that you don't do. And I think it's a very personal thing, and obviously it depends what you've gone through or how you feel. Nobody wants to watch someone suffer, so I'd never really condemn anyone for disappearing. Funny enough, I mean, I met a man, because I was single when I was going through it, and I met a man about 6 weeks before the first time I wasn't, and the second time I went through, when I was in remission, and I met a man, and about 6 weeks after I met him, his name's John, I relapsed. And I said to him, look, you can go now. I mean, this is going to be really horrible and tough, and you can go. I don't expect you to hang around, because I would, it's going to be a tough old thing. And he just said, don't be ridiculous.
Wow.
And he just stepped up enormously. And in fact, when I get off this line to you in about 10 minutes, I'm off to see our wedding venue in Oxford. I wouldn't have got married if it hadn't been. So that's one of the things.
Well, there's a positive. Cancer has got you married, and well done. Well, I said well done him. I mean, 6 weeks into a relationship, even a year into a relationship, it's a lot of. And you're right. The partners and the children don't necessarily get thought of as much as the patient, and then it's a lot of work for them. Yeah. And so for him to 6 weeks say no, we're going through this together. Yeah. That's someone very, very special.
Very, very, very. I think, going back to what you're talking about, friends and people that sort of step up, and I've had all my friends and family have just been, they've been world class. I keep saying to them, they all deserve a pay rise. They've been absolutely brilliant. And I do feel a bit of a drama queen, really, because I'm always, they're always there and they're always supporting me. One of the things one of the positives about cancer earlier on is you don't get into any arguments, because everyone treats you so nicely that you get your own way with everything, which can be a bit of a bore after a while. But it is, people are so lovely to you. It is quite humbling, really, how lovely people are and how much they want to help. You do go around seeing the best in life a little bit after that, because people just naturally they want to look after you and help you, and so I think that becomes a real positive, because you've seen so much of that you want to give a bit of that back, and recognise and thank people and sort of pass it forward a bit, I think.
And you're in remission now, Rachel. Everything's looking good and feeling fine?
Yeah, everything is feeling great at the moment. I saw my liver surgeon a few weeks ago, actually, in Oxford, and he said to me, because we're off on a honeymoon to the Greek islands, and I said,
which islands are you going to?
Santorini and probably Foligandros.
Oh, beautiful. They're the good ones.
Yeah, so I hear.
Yes.
So we said, we're going to hire a motorbike and go. And he just looked at me and said, Rachel, he said, look, I've saved your life twice. He said, what are you doing getting on a motorbike? But there's, that's just a flippant thing.
Yeah.
But you don't tend to want to do, you don't put things off anymore, and nothing is frightening anymore. You face the worst thing you can face, then nothing else becomes frightening. You just grab it, really.
When are you getting married, Rachel?
2nd of July on that Wednesday, Wedding Wednesday.
Who gets married on a Wednesday?
I know.
Cheapskates, that's who.
I know.
That's who. Rachel, listen, I really appreciate your time, and have a fantastic wedding. And those are the nice Greek islands. You'll have a great time there. They? Yeah, they're lovely, yeah. Rachel, enjoy going to look at your venue.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for your time.
Will.
Cheers. Bye-bye. There we go. That's Rachel. She's author of The C List. What a great story. Those are the nice Greek islands. Trust me. 03453 009956. It's over to you now, dear listener. I need your stories. Your stories, please. Cancer, how has it affected your life? But more importantly, what are the positives that have come out because you or a friend or a relative have had cancer? I know it's a weird question, isn't it? I'll tell you the positives that have come into my life over the last couple of years because of cancer. I'll tell you those a little bit later on, but let's get your stories, please. 03453 009956.
Iain Lee.
On BBC WM.
95.6. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
Doreen.
Hello, Iain.
Good morning. You nearly called me Doreen. You hesitated. It's a nice name. You don't see any baby Doreens, do you?
No, and yet I've met more people named Doreen the past 12 months than I've ever heard.
Have you? Have you joined like a Doreen fan club or something?
I don't know.
It's a good name. If anyone out there is having a baby and they're looking for a name, Doreen is a way to go.
Actually, the proper pronunciation is Doreen.
That's only no, it's not. That's only if you're pretending to be posh.
Yes.
It's very Hyacinth Bouquet.
Well, Dor is D-double-O, isn't it?
Yeah, and
it's D-O.
But it's the E that makes it Dor, isn't it? Or hang on a second. Diana Dawes was D-O-R-S.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Or
there we are.
Maybe not. Anyway, Doreen, why have you called in? No, let's not argue about Doreen.
About the queue jumping.
Oh, yes.
Well, it happens there all the time.
I forgot we were talking about that. Let me just remind people. I was in Paris last week, and I was queuing like a good Brit. And those continentals, and indeed from other nations as well, they were not respecting the queue. No one was respecting the queue. And you're saying it happens here as well?
But you don't catch a bus very often.
Oh, I get the bus all the time,
Well,
Doreen.
in Sutton Coldfield,
Yes.
there's one particular place.
Yeah.
And it's outside the precinct. And they're mostly students coming. I'm not going to say they're all. Stand up the wall waiting for a bus. They don't wait in the queue.
Yeah.
And as soon as the bus comes, it don't matter how long. They've only been there a minute. They just walk to the front of the queue. And one day, there was a girl come. She just walked up the side of the queue, walked to the front and got on.
No.
And there was a woman the other week, about second in the queue, and all these youngsters got on, and that woman had got a blind dog. Wouldn't you allowed to get on first?
Oh, no, her dog was blind?
No, she was.
Oh, she was blind and it was
a dog with a blind... a dog suitable for the blind.
A guide dog, yes.
Yeah, a guide dog.
Sorry, I do apologise.
And wouldn't you have let her get on first?
Of course I would have done.
Yeah, well,
Did nobody say in these two instances?
One day, the girl that walked up from the back, and the woman said to me, where's she come from? And I said, well, I've just seen her turn that corner, and she walked straight up, and she sat behind me, and she was foreign. And I thought, oh, it's very saying she probably can't understand English. But I heard her on the mobile phone, and she was
talking
speaking
English on the phone,
so
was
I knew
she?
she could.
Unbelievable.
So when I got off, I did say to her, I said, we queue here, you know.
Yeah.
I said, I said, I don't know who you think you are. You can just walk past the queue and get on first. I said, you're no different from anybody else.
Yeah. How did you know she was foreign, Doreen?
Well, the way she was dressed.
Oh, she had foreign clothes on?
Yeah, foreign clothes on.
Coming over here, pushing into our queues.
I wasn't saying anything in case she didn't speak English.
No, but she was on the phone speaking
but then
English.
She sat behind me and she was talking on the phone.
Gave herself
and I knew
away.
if she spoke English, you could understand it.
Well, you would assume that.
I did say, I have said to the students on occasions, and the bus driver said to me, Mrs, we could do with a few more people at the bus stop. I said, hey, step aside. I said, there's people been here waiting ages before you. The driver said, Mrs, he said, I wish there was more like you. I said, I feel like saying something too. He said, because I can see when I pull into the bus stop.
Doreen, I appreciate your call. Thank you. It's Doreen there. Doreen. I kind of agree with her. I agree with her. People pushing into the front of the queue, it's not done. In this country, I would do oi, there is a queue here, you know. I would do that. Abroad, I didn't. I just gave those Italians and those swarthy French a really dirty look and tutted softly under my breath. Was having none of it. It's one of the... It really... I'm not particularly proud to be British. Okay, you get people who are proud to be British. I don't get it. Why should I be proud of the bit of rock that I passed through my mother on? Why? It's luck. It's luck that I'm British. I'm glad to be British. I'm lucky to be British. I'm not proud, but I guess the thing that I am proud of is how we queue. Right. You know, David Cameron, there's going to be a referendum, isn't there, in 2017 or something, about whether we're in and out of Europe, maybe 2015, about whether we stay in or out of Europe. And David Cameron has said, look, before we have the referendum, I'm going to go to the European Parliament and I'm going to try and make some changes. Then when I've made the changes, then we'll have the referendum. Number one on that list of changes better be when he sits down with Angela Merkel, right, Merkel, let's sort these queues out. If you can get everybody in Europe to respect the queue, I will convince Britain to stay in the EU. That's what he needs to do, respecting the queue. 03453 009956. I'm genuinely furious about it. It's a mixed bag this morning. Queuing and cancer this morning. Queuing and cancer. Can there ever be any positives coming out of cancer? We've been speaking all week on this station, newspapers, TV, about Stephen Sutton, the young lad. He's got terminal cancer. And he's got a bucket list, and one of those things was to raise 10 grand for the Teenage Cancer Trust. He's raised nearly, over £2.5 million. What are the positives that can come out of cancer? 03453 009956. Vivian's in Burton-on-Trent. Morning, Vivian.
Hello, Ian. Excuse me.
There we go.
Well, I want to talk about cancer.
Yes.
I'm 71, by the way.
Happy birthday.
Right, thank you. Well, not today.
Oh, not today.
But, I'm in my 71st year.
Good for you.
First, a comment on what the lady said.
Yeah.
I agree with every word she said. But what we should do is show respect, and you will get respect. And have manners like we always have had.
You don't always get respect when you show respect, do you?
Most
you quite often you get
do.
scorn. Sometimes you get scorn. Sometimes you get indifference.
Well, I don't want to get into it, but one thing is, if the person you are dealing with is a respectful person and has manners,
yes,
and has a good upbringing, they will respect your respect.
Respect the respect.
It.
Yes. Well, hopefully.
Anyway, let's get back to the cancer.
Go on, Vivian.
Now, that woman who wants £90,000, she's 54, by the way. So she's in her latter years, isn't she?
What? Sorry, what? I've missed
myself as well.
I've missed something, Vivian. Which woman that wants £90,000?
Well, that woman, she's been diagnosed, just like that young lad who's raised just over £2 million for to help people after him.
Yeah.
Possibly help find a cure for cancer.
Yeah.
He is giving it to other people.
Yes.
He knows he's got terminal cancer.
Yeah.
He can't help himself.
Yeah.
But this lady, she's 54 years of age.
Vivian, you have me at a slight disadvantage. I don't know the story of the 54-year-old woman.
Apparently, there's a drug on the market
Yes.
that can extend a certain breast cancer.
Okay. And this woman needs the £90,000 to get this drug, does she?
Yeah, because
Okay.
she wants the NHS to spend it.
Yeah.
And it costs £90,000
Yes.
for 6 months extra life.
Yeah. Sounds like a bargain to me.
It's not really when you think of my case, or that young lad.
Well, what's your case, Vivian? Let's hear your case.
I had a blow on the head by 3 or 4. I basically had a bang, had a blood clot, that turned into a tumour.
Yeah.
That was diagnosed by a professor. I think he's American. I wouldn't have seen him unless I had about a letter of recommendation from my family's GP, which Mother asked him for, because the treatment I was getting with the hospital in Burton wasn't much. So anyway, we had a recommendation. We went in last because we had to wait till the appointments had finished. And this professor from America is on a 6-month clinic in 1952
Yes.
at the old Birmingham General,
Yes.
the old Victoria,
Okay.
now the Children's Hospital.
Right.
Yeah, well, I saw him for about 10 minutes in the examination room. I followed his finger, followed the light. Anyway, he came out, he made the examination after about 10 minutes, sat me down. I said to Mother, he gave her 2 choices.
Yes.
She could watch me play. I'm 10 at this moment.
Yeah.
1952, I'm 10.
Yes. She could
gave Mother
watch him
2
play.
choices.
Yes.
She could watch me play and then go to my funeral after 6 months.
Yeah.
Or she could take a chance and let him and his team carry out an experimental brain operation to remove a benign tumour on the brain.
And which did she choose?
Which will still have killed me, even though it was benign, because of the pressure.
The pressure. Which option did she go for, Vivian?
She went for the 50-50 chance of recovery. Now, I had the operation later on that year.
Yeah.
The old QE. And I'm very thankful for all the treatment I had there as well.
Vivian, the point you're making is great. They did an experimental operation on you.
I told you at the front.
Yep.
I'm 71 years of age.
I know, so it
so
works.
it's given me 61 years of life, that operation.
Yes.
So which is more valuable and more economically?
Well, those are 2 different questions. Which is more valuable? I don't think you can put a value on anyone's...
Valuable?
I don't think...
61 years of life or 6 months of life?
But to that woman...
£90,000.
And I don't know the story.
I know life is valuable.
Yes. To that... Vivian, let me interrupt. Vivian, let me speak. I don't know the story, so I'm just making things up here. But to that woman and to that woman's children, if she has children, and to her family and her friends. Listen, my dad died last year, Vivian. He died February last year of pancreatic cancer. If I'd have had £90,000 in the bank, and if that would have bought him 6 months extra life, I would have spent that gladly. I would have spent that without a moment's hesitation. And it's impossible, isn't it, to put a price on someone's life?
But the thing is, the pharmaceutical companies have got us all in a vice.
Well, they have, Vivian. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there. We're going off on a slight tangent. It's a tangent we can investigate if you want. Vivian thinking that it's not 90 grand for an extra 6 months of life. I would have given that for my dad easily. If I had it and it would have worked, here's the £90,000, 6 months extra. You sure? Right, I'm in. I'll have some of that. 03453 009956. But the thing I want to focus on this morning when we talk about cancer, it's very easy, isn't it, to get to get kind of all maudlin and depressed and negative and hear terribly sad stories about cancer. This morning I want to get the positives, please. How has it affected you? How did it affect you? Did it give you, as our guest Rachel said earlier on, did it give you a boot up the backside? I think she said kick up the bum. Did it give you a boot up the backside and force you to be more proactive, to do more things, to challenge life, to grasp life by its collars and give it a thorough shake? Did you write a book? Did you go and make a film? Did you go and travel the world? Did you meet up with family members you hadn't seen for years? Make peace with those you'd fallen out with? Did that happen? The positives, please. 03453 009956.
More goals, more games. Hear live and exclusive FM commentary of Swansea versus Villa with the latest from Baggies, Blues, Wolves and Walsall.
BBC WM 95.6.
Right, on the subject of queuing, it's Ranjit in Albury. Morning, Ranjit.
Hiya, mate. You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine. Do you respect the queue?
I always do, always.
Good for you.
Right. But what I want to say, I listen to your radio station about 13, 14 hours a day.
Gosh, I'm sorry about that, Ranjit. Have you been punished or something? Have you committed a crime?
No, it's while I'm working.
Oh, OK.
And I listened to that caller earlier, Doreen. I know she's not here to defend herself, but I listened to her many a times, yeah?
Yes.
And she always brings race and colour into it.
This is, for those who missed it, this is Doreen from Erdington, who was talking about someone who was wearing foreign clothes, so they must have been a foreigner, pushing in front of her at a bus queue.
The way I see it was another human being that was rude, unintelligent probably, doesn't know about queuing. What's the colour of their skin or the clothes they're wearing or where they've got to do, it's got to do with this situation?
Now, Ranjit, normally, I would agree with that completely. Yeah. But having been abroad this week and having seen people from various different nations, Arab nations, continental European nations, and their inability to queue, this is one of the very few times that I think maybe nationality and possibly even race does play a factor. Definitely nationality, race, I'm not quite sure about yet.
Okay, what I'm saying is, okay, I'm from Indian origin. I was brought up in this country, born in this country. I've got the British values of life, yeah? So I know what etiquette I have to use and where.
Yeah.
My argument that I'm trying to put across to you, Doreen, for some reason, always brings race, colour and creed into it. That's what I don't understand.
Yes.
When we go to India from here, okay, from Birmingham Airport, you've only got to go and have a look and see the shambles, the way people queue.
Oh, they don't. And you would have thought, having been, run by the British for so long, yes, we did a pretty bad job of it.
Yeah.
But we owned India, in inverted commas, for a long time. You would have thought that queuing would be de rigueur there, but they just don't do it, do they?
I've asked people in a queue at an airport, I've asked them, are you going on the same flight as me? And they've said yes. I says, well, why are you trying to push in front of me? You've got your boarding pass, you've got your seat.
I know what you mean, yeah.
What are you going to achieve? They're not going to achieve. Yes, people are ignorant, people are rude, but as soon as we come back off that plane and we come back into society here, we queue, we wait, but as soon as you have a stopover halfway through to India, people get that mentality, they want to get there first. Now, that is just sheer ignorance. It's got nothing to do with race, okay? I can't understand why people push in. I can wait somewhere, I can wait for a pint of beer, right, and somebody will always try and push in.
This is the one place in Britain where the queue doesn't work, the bar.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work in the bar, does it? It's whoever's got the longest arm and can wave their tenor the most furiously.
Yep, that's it. But again, I would like for when she comes back on air another time, answer this question: why does she always bring race and colour and creed into her conversations?
Ranjit?
Yep.
Can you stay there and I'll speak to you after the travel?
Yep.
Thank you very much indeed. His dream may yet come true, dear listener. It's BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel news now with Liz.
Thank you very much, Ian. As you head to Penkridge, the A449, still partially blocked because of an accident at the junction with Boscombe Lane near the pedestrian crossing, and police are at the scene, but it's looking a bit congested around there. Through Selly Oak, the A38 Bristol Road is rather busy as you head towards the Priory Road turn, particularly on the inbound side going into Birmingham. Better news in Himley, though. That bit of the A449 has cleared the accident at the junction with the B4176, police tell us. The accident also cleared from the Wilnecote area at Kinsale Green turn of the A5. Your match day travel sees Aston Villa off to Swansea this afternoon. It's a good 2.5 hours down the M5 and onto the M4, but no reported delays on either of those motorway routes. Walsall fans are off to Stevenage, that's down the M6 and the M1. Both those motorway routes also looking clear so far this morning. If you can update us, call BBC WM95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Previously on Hunted.
Somebody taking a picture of you might have the clue, potentially.
Have you got a clue for me?
Sorry?
Have you got a clue?
Avez-vous clue?
No.
I live right by the swimming bath.
Oh, sorry, we would have dropped in for a coffee if we'd had the chance.
I'm not defeated yet.
Are you expecting us? You're not. Are you...
Wrong location.
Hunted.
With Richard Wilford.
This Sunday morning from 9. BBC WM.
95.6.
Okay, so with lots of things this morning. Positive stories from cancer. 03453 009956. And also queuing. Respect the queue. We were speaking to Ranjit just before the travel. Ranjit, what was it you wanted to ask Doreen?
I wanted to know why in every conversation that she phones up, she feels that she needs to bring the colour of a person's skin into the conversation, the race and where they come from.
Doreen, do you want to answer
Hello,
that?
Ranjit.
Hello, Lee, okay.
Listen, I said I wasn't going to tell her in case she didn't speak English, but she sat behind me and I could hear her speaking English. And Ian asked me, how did you know she was foreign? I said, because the way she was dressed.
Doreen...
Didn't say by the colour of her skin. I also tell the kids who are English about doing this. I don't just tell anybody because they're foreign.
Doreen, what my question to you is, right, I've heard you many a times on the radio, many times.
Yes, and same with you, Randy.
Yeah, okay. You always seem to bring in, right, no matter what we're talking about, bad driving, nurses or whatever, doctors, you always mention the foreigner this, foreigner that, from their own country, this their religion, this and that. Why do you feel that you need to...
Well, it's an opinion, Ranjit. It's the same people come on all the time, and I think they're more like communists, and they bring their political views into it. It's just the same.
No, the conversation you was having with Ian was about people being rude and pushing in.
Well, I did say that all the lads from the students, I didn't say they were foreign. They're English.
I've listened to you many a times. Have you got any children, Doreen?
Yes.
Have you got any grandchildren?
No.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
If one of your grandchildren, was to bring a black person home and say, this is my other half, or an Asian person, put your hand on your heart and tell me what would you do? Put your hand on your heart and tell the truth.
If I bought them what?
If one of your grandchildren, bought a foreign person home and says, this is the person I'm going to get married to, and this is the person I'm going to live with.
To be honest, Randy, do you want me to be honest?
Be honest.
I don't believe in mixed marriage myself, but that's my opinion.
I can agree with your opinion, yeah.
Yeah.
Right,
but I did have a black friend when I was at school, and I'm also going to a wedding shortly, and I'm wearing a sari.
Right, OK, that's great news. And that's, I cannot quite fathom out how we got from the French not being able to queue to Doreen giving the thumbs down to mixed marriages. Does Ranjit, Doreen, stay there? Dave, you want to say something on this, do you?
Yeah.
Go on, Dave.
Ian.
Morning.
This woman you've got on, I've heard her so many times. She's just an ignorant racist.
Whoa. Come on now, Dave. Come on, please.
I'm telling the truth here.
As you see it, yes.
I've heard her. She 2 or 3 weeks ago, she said, I'm not racist. Couple of 3 months ago, whenever it was, when they opened the new library, Adrian Goldberg was doing the show, and she come on because that girl that had been shot, she'd been invited to open the new library.
Yes.
And this racist hypocrite come on the phone to Adrian, and she was screaming at her. She shouldn't open this. She's a foreigner.
Right. Well, hang on, Dave. Listen, I didn't hear that, so I don't want to comment on that.
Well, yeah, but she would have heard it because she said it.
She said it, yes.
Ian?
Yes, Doreen. Oh, dear.
I did say it, and I said it should be somebody from Birmingham. And if it had been somebody from Scotland or Wales, I'd have still felt the same. I felt it, so
this was Malala, wasn't it? The Afghanistani girl who'd been shot by the Taliban. Ranjit, you were going to say something there.
Yeah, okay. The day when she said this about it should be a British person,
Yes.
What I said was Malala represented education.
I didn't say British, I said Birmingham.
Well, whatever you said, I'm not going to be as strong as the other caller you've got, yeah?
Right.
He's accused you of being what you are.
Okay.
I would say that I'm in agreement with him. But what I want to say is, on that day, I phoned up and I said, if somebody was pioneering, for everybody to have education, Malala was a perfect
She's the one. She was a great one. Okay,
Well, everybody's got their own opinion.
No, but your opinions are wrong.
Well,
how do you... I don't think yours are. Some of yours are.
Dear. Please, boys and girls, please, put down the toys. If you could put down the toys and stand still. Hands on heads. Ranjit, hands on heads. Doreen, hands on heads.
Yes, okay.
Dave, hands on heads.
Yep.
Thank you very much indeed. Now listen, we've gone from talking about the French being unable to queue to Malala opening a library in Birmingham. If I'm completely honest, what Doreen, the point that I felt Doreen was trying to make when it came to queuing, it may have been delivered in a slightly ham-fisted, old-fashioned way, but I don't necessarily think the point she was making was particularly racist.
Listen, it's just not this one time, like the caller Dave says.
But Ranjit, I've spoken to Doreen a few times, but I've not heard a lot of these instances you're talking about, and I can only really speak about this morning when she made the comments about the people getting on the bus. It was perhaps expressed, and Doreen, with the greatest of respect, it was perhaps expressed in a slightly ignorant way. There are a lot of assumptions being made, but the point that foreigners don't queue... Is that right, Dave? Is that a racist point?
Ian, I'm not particularly interested about the queuing.
Well, I am.
I'm on about this racist that comes on.
Okay, Dave, we're going to let that go because I do want to focus on the queuing. Ranjit, is the point that foreigners can't queue, which I guess is kind of the point I was making, is that a racist point?
I think that is. I'm in agreement that some people can't queue, yeah, but I don't look at the person's colour of their skin or what they're wearing.
Well, I think to a certain extent, when you are abroad, you are looking at foreigners, and the judgment that I was making was that foreigners don't queue. They don't respect the queue. Is that a racist statement?
With you there.
Yeah,
I'm in agreement with you there.
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
But I wouldn't look at somebody podging the queue in this country, right? I wouldn't look at where they come from. I would just look at them as an individual that can't queue, right? And that's the problem Doreen's got. She looks at the person and where they come from, then she makes a judgment. And another thing, all these people, they hide behind the fact that, you know what they say? Oh, I've got loads of Muslim friends, I've got loads of Asian friends, right? And they'll stand in front of an Asian and say, you Asians are okay, but I don't like black people. They'll stand in front of a black person and say, I like black people, but I don't like them Asians. But inside, their inhibitions come out when they come on a radio show or when they amongst themselves, right?
Okay.
And that's my opinion.
Okay. Well, your opinion's wrong, as someone had said a few minutes ago. No, it's not. Ranjit, Doreen, thank you very much indeed. Let's leave it there. Okay, let's leave it there. How on earth? This was supposed to be the light-hearted part of the show. This was the fun, frothy topic. Queuing was the fun bit. You should see what we've got coming up later on. Flippin' heck. How on earth did a light-hearted bit of banter about how foreigners can't queue turn into a debate on whether Malala, the 14-year-old Afghanistan girl who was shot in the face by the Taliban, should or should not have opened Birmingham's library? 03453 009956. I stand by my statement. Okay, and I don't... If you're phoning up to have a go about Doreen, she's gone. I'm not going to let people come on and attack other callers when they're not here, OK? We've done that. Fine. My statement still stands, OK? And is this racist? Is this racist? I'm going to put it as bluntly as I can. Foreigners can't queue. They do not respect the queue. 03453 009956.
Middleton,
Mile Oak,
Moseley,
Oldbury,
Pattingham.
Have your say across the West Midlands.
BBC WM
95.6.
Nick's in Solihull. Good morning, Nick.
Hello, Ian. No disrespect to you. I enjoy listening to you both on your home channel and this one.
But
I don't necessarily charge you with racism for saying that foreigners don't like queuing. I think it's really more petty and divisive. You're just trying to kick people like Doreen off.
Sorry?
Who finds having a go at foreigners as their only way of making noise.
No, Nick, not in the slightest. This comes from being in France last week, and many more times than I could count, having people push in front of the queue, or not even bother joining the queue or going near the queue, just kind of walking up to the bus door or the door that we were waiting for, with no respect for anyone else. It's not an attempt to get the racists to call in. It's not an attempt. I thought this was going to be a light-hearted bit of banter where people would phone up and say, "Yeah, well, when I was in Spain, I was queuing to go on on a boat, and everyone." I didn't expect this wasn't meant to be a racist rant.
Okay, I accept that, Ian, but unfortunately it has turned into a kind of racist banter. That's why you get people like Doreen phoning in, because that's all she hears. You see, it's not. I'm not saying putting it down to you specifically, but every day on the BBC, whenever you listen, I'm a phone-in freak. I like listening to debates on there. There's always some kind of them and us connotation in practically everything we hear. Look at this, what's going on in Ukraine. It's all about the Russians, so let's bash the Russians and everything else.
Well, hang on, Nick. If you want to talk about the Ukraine, we can. The Russians are invading a country. They have annexed a part of a country, and they are invading a country. It's quite a big news story, isn't it?
Well, it's not actually. It depends on what you use the word invasion, how you term the word invasion.
Sending masked men with guns to take over various official buildings, I would class as an invasion.
Well, Russia was leased most of Crimea everywhere. If you actually look at the economics of it, it wasn't actually an annex anyway. It was the Crimea was very much part of Russia anyway.
Well,
said that going off the point. What I'm saying,
it's a point that you brought up. They did annex Crimea. It was part of Ukraine, and then they just said, no, we're having it. We're going to have a vote in 5 days. Oh, they vote for us. Bye. It's not recognised by anyone, even China. Even China, Nick, think that who support Russia a lot think that Russia's being a little bit crazy here.
But on your point about foreigners queuing, Ian, okay, where you went in France, I've been to France. I've queued in France. I bet a lot of people have queued overseas. Is there really this evidence that it's just foreigners who want to push in?
Nick, it's not a statistical story. What I'm doing is I am relaying an incident or several incidences that happened to me over the week. It's not, hey, we found this story in the newspaper and 72% of foreigners can't queue. No, I'm not saying that. This is something that happened to me in the week. I am relaying it, and suddenly it's turned into a debate about the Ukraine and a 14-year-old Afghanistani girl that was shot by the Taliban.
Well, OK, I brought the Ukraine, but it kicks people off on the racist issue, on the racist theme, which is why Doreen came on with that rant. That's what the whole purpose of it was.
Well, the whole purpose.
Unfortunately, that's what you've caused. You've created that by bringing that issue up in that way.
So by talking about my holiday, I've created racism.
Well, talk about your holiday, yeah, but not about on a theme that was us against them.
Okay, all right.
Everybody now probably thinks, like Doreen, that every foreigner now is going to push in accused.
Okay, let's talk about my holiday. On the Wednesday, I took my boys to Cafe Mickey, and we had some great food, slightly overpriced, and they met Minnie Mouse. Call me now, 03453 009956. Oh, what a surprise, Nick. The phones haven't lit up because no one wants to talk about that aspect of my holiday.
Because it's not a controversial thing you said.
Well, it's not even particularly interesting. It's only interesting. Okay, Nick, thank you very much indeed. I've got to let you go because A, we're running out of time, and B, God, I'm running out of words. So hang on, by talking... Producer Joe, this was supposed to be the light-hearted bit of the show. So, by talking about my holiday, I have created racism. Wowzers. Oh, gosh. Honestly, this was meant to be the non-controversial part of the show. You can still call me about queuing. 03453 009956. And in the next hour, a mum who breastfeeds her child who is 5 years old. Gosh. Glad to hear your stories about that, please.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's 10 o'clock on the button. Let's get the latest news now with Nicole Pullman.
The G7 leading industrial countries have agreed to impose new sanctions on Russia because of what they've described as Moscow's escalation of tensions in Ukraine. A joint statement said the G7 would move swiftly to increase the costs of Russia's actions. Washington says Russian fighter jets have breached Ukrainian airspace on several occasions in the last 24 hours. And in the eastern Ukrainian city of Sloviansk, a pro-Russian militia is continuing to hold a team of 13 international and Ukrainian observers. A spokesperson for the US State Department, Jen Psaki, said the taking of hostages was unacceptable.
If true, we strongly condemn this action and call for their immediate release. And over the past week, we've unfortunately seen an increase in a rapid escalation in hostage takings by pro-Russian separatists. We condemn this repressive and cowardly tactic and call for the release of all hostages.
4 more members of the crew of the South Korean ferry that sank 10 days ago have been detained. All 15 crew members are now in custody. 187 bodies have been recovered from the ferry and 115 passengers are still missing. West Midlands Police insist stalking is taken seriously as a Black Country man starts a jail sentence for harassing a woman who later committed suicide. The judge at Birmingham Crown Court said 29-year-old Kalmajit Sidhu was controlled by Ryan Day from Oldbury during their 18-month relationship. She took her own life a week after breaking up with the 23-year-old, who's been sentenced to 2 years after pleading guilty. The family have called for better police training to help catch stalkers, but Detective Chief Inspector Kim Medill told BBC WM they do have measures in place.
As the judge rightly said, Parliament recognised the fact that stalking was really serious and changed the legislation about 18 months ago to reflect the fact that how serious stalking is. And as I've said before, if you are a victim, please do not suffer in silence. Contact somebody and tell them about the abuse that you're suffering so we can help you.
Tougher rules for getting a mortgage came into force today, meaning lenders will be obliged to ensure the borrower can afford their mortgage, not just now but in the future. From now on, people applying for one could be asked anything from how much they pay for a haircut to what they spend on takeaways every month. Peter Hunt is the mortgage expert at Money Watch Finance in Birmingham.
The days of lenders not checking people's incomes, not checking what their lifestyles are, those days are going to be long gone. They're going to make sure if they're going to lend money, it's going to be a sum of money that can be paid back.
Aston Villa have made the trip to Swansea City for this afternoon's game at the Liberty Stadium. There'll be exclusive FM commentary here on BBC WM 95.6 from 3 o'clock. Our build-up starts at midday with Jenny Wilkes sitting in for Daz Hale on early kick-off. With the Villa owner Randy Lerner refusing to confirm or deny rumours that he's about to sell up, there's a cloud of uncertainty surrounding the club. The manager, Paul Lambert, says the American businessman will make things clear in his own good time.
Come the end of the season, Randy will say what he's got to say, and I think everybody has to respect that. It's his club, his baby as such. Everybody has to respect that. He's been brilliant to me as an individual. As I said, I'm not privy to everything that goes on. I'm just here to try and win games.
The Albion head coach, Pepe Mel, says he's desperate to win at home for the first time since he took charge in January. When West Ham come to the Hawthorns this afternoon, the Baggies are 3 points clear of the relegation zone going into the game. And the Birmingham City captain, Paul Robinson, has urged his teammates to get stuck in against Leeds United at St Andrews this afternoon. Only goal difference is keeping Blues out of the relegation zone in the Championship, with 3 matches of the season to go. The weather rain throughout today, but the showers will become less frequent this afternoon. The top temperature, 14 Celsius, 57 Fahrenheit. Blustery showers this evening, but it will feel mild, with the temperatures down no lower than 8 Celsius, 46 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
I'm so sorry. I've just been for a little chat with producer Joe. This today has taken us completely by surprise. A little recap. On the back of Stephen Sutton, the young lad who's got terminal cancer, who's raised, well over £2.5 million for charity, we're asking what positives have come out of cancer for you? I know it's a ham-fisted question. It sits a little bit awkwardly, but there are positives. I may share my story of the positives of how when cancer touched my life a little bit later on. But the thing that's got you going, that I threw out as a flippant little comment that was going to be the light in what was otherwise quite a shady show, has been queuing. I was in France last week. We went to Paris for a few days and Euro Disney for a few days. And nobody knows how to queue over there. It wasn't just the French, OK? There were members of Arab nations, there were Germans, there were Italians, there were even some Americans. The queuing was not happening, OK? Well, since then, it's turned into a debate about whether, on the back of queuing, whether Malala, the young teenage girl that was shot in the face by the Taliban, should have opened Birmingham Library. It's turned into a debate about Russia and the Ukraine and Crimea, and accusations that me talking about my holiday has created racism. Oh, man, I love it. 03453 009956. Also in this hour, the thorny subject of breastfeeding. Well, it's not that thorny. I'm one of those people that thinks, yeah, you should breastfeed anywhere. Don't send women off to the toilets to breastfeed. Would you eat your lunch in a public toilet? No. Let women breastfeed everywhere. But when the kid's 5 years old, we'll be speaking to a mum who's breastfeeding her child who is 5. What do you reckon about that? 03453 009956.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453
009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
Let me do one text. 81333, start your text WM on the subject of cancer. Iain, I wanted to say it's amazing and wonderful that the teenage boy Stephen Sutton in the news has managed to raise so much money. But in this country, we raise so much money for cancer with runs and events, millions and millions. Yet we're still behind Europe with cancer treatments. Being denied cancer drugs always in the news. It's a postcode lottery who gets the drugs. Cancer have had millions. Where's it all going? Desk pots? Managers? We aren't getting the treatment after all this money being given. Well, I suppose the money that's being raised goes to cancer charities, doesn't it? It doesn't go to the NHS to fund cancer treatments. So that's why we hear stories of people being refused cancer treatments and cancer drugs in various places, or new drugs, or all of these things. So the money is going to, depending on what charity, it could be going to provide research into cancer, it could be going to provide carers for cancer sufferers, but it's not going to pay for the drugs themselves. I'm a little bit anxious as to where to go next. Let's go to Millie in Kingshurst. Morning, Millie.
Oh, hello, Ian.
Millie, you want to talk about queuing, do you?
Yes. No, I want to talk about the comments that have been made.
OK.
You have not intentionally created a racist conversation.
OK, thank you.
That is the first thing I want to say.
Thank you.
And the other thing I want to say is neither has Doreen. Doreen has given her opinion, which is entitled to do, and people have got no right to go back over weeks and weeks of times when Doreen was on air to discuss this. Doreen did not create racism, and neither did you. And all these people who are queuing up to ring up to pounce on racism, I think they cause a lot of trouble. And that's all I need to say.
Millie, thank you very much. At least these people are queuing up to pounce on racism. That's some bonus. And that's because we're British, you see. And it's right. It's not particularly fair, I don't think, to pounce on conversations that other people have had a long time ago, particularly ones that I've not heard. If I've not been part of that conversation and I've not heard it as a listener, we're getting lots of phone calls from PPI people today. Isn't that funny? It comes up on my screen, PPI calling, automated call. Why? Has the BBC... Have we checked to see if the BBC is owed any money from PPI? It could be a lot of money. Do check. Let's not cite previous calls, OK, from past shows, from other shows that I wasn't involved in and I possibly didn't hear. We can talk about today's show, because I was here. I remember a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. But let's not talk about the debates that Adrian had last year or things like that. It's not fair on me. And it's certainly not fair on the other listeners who may not have been listening. I do feel a little bit left out, yes. I do feel a bit left out. It's not fair. Stop it. Anne's in Edgbaston. Morning, Anne.
Hello, good morning, Ian.
What would you like to say?
I can't stop laughing at your show this morning.
Oh, dear.
Fantastic, and well done, congratulations. And you always keep me in on a Saturday morning, but unfortunately this morning I'm taking I'm taking the granddaughters to the circus at Hagley.
Oh, fantastic.
But I thought I'd better phone in and tell you that I'm Italian,
Yep.
and I've been here since 1956.
Yeah.
We have a home in Italy and we go regularly. And I just want to say this business about queuing, it's actually a cultural thing. They don't know how to queue.
No.
Because when we go back, we feel British. For example, I go to the local bakery, and the last time we went, I was there a good 20 minutes and I was second in the queue, and about 6 people got served before me. And in the end, I had to speak up. And they sort of shrugged their shoulders as to say, well, you budging us, you get served before us if you want to. So it's not just Italian. I think it's a European. It's a cultural thing.
Is it just? And you're right. It's, my wife's half Greek. We spend a lot of time in Greece, and if you I don't think they have a word for queue in Greek.
No.
But is Britain the only country that queues? Then America does to a certain extent, but even they can be a bit fluid around it.
Most of the countries we've visited don't queue. The only places we've seen them queue are on motorway toilets. And you'll find people will queue. But even if you're in a coffee bar or, you're getting served at a motorway service station, in a shop or whatever, it's not first come, first served or queue. They just barge in front of you, get their money out and whatever, bluntly ask for what they want, and they get served. And what gets me mad is the people serving them don't say anything. I've suggested in our local village where we've got this home, why don't you have a queuing system or a notice, or tickets like they do back in England? And they just off it off. They say, well, this is life here. This is what we do.
And I've even done that thing. I don't go to a bar very often. I don't drink. But occasionally, in fact, I was at a bar 3 weeks ago because I was at an event.
Yeah.
And I was queuing and I was waving my £10 note. And the barman came to me and I went, oh, no, sorry, I think this guy was next.
Yeah.
And I pointed him to the fella next to me who'd been waiting a little bit longer.
Yeah, and he didn't care. I bet he carried on and served you.
No, do you know what? He was a very nice lad, actually, and he did go and... Anne, thank you for that. He did go and serve the other gentleman. Bars are the only places in Britain, I think, where the queue system doesn't work, where you're just there with leaning on the bar, waving your tenner in the air. And I still felt uncomfortable. The barman came to me. I knew there was a couple of people down who'd got there before me, and I said to the barman, oh, sorry, mate, he was first. It is. Is Britain the only country that queues? Let's look at it that way. Where have you been in the world where other countries, other nations queue? They do in America to a certain extent, but you still get pushy Americans that force their way to the front. I don't think there's any European country that queues. I've been to India, I've been to Pakistan. They don't queue. And you would have thought, because maybe it's a rebellion against the Brits. Again, in inverted commas, in italics, owning them. Maybe it's a rebellion against the British that they don't queue there, because they don't. It's just luck as to when you get served there. So, can we find any other countries in the world that queue? Peter's in Erdington. Morning, Peter.
Morning.
Peter, what would you like to say, sir?
Top Gear the other week. I think it was probably a repeat when they went to India.
Oh, yeah.
And James May and Clarkson said, I don't do queuing.
Oh.
There's two things in life Clarkson doesn't do, manual labour and queuing. So him and Hammond went, and James May stood in the, I think it was a train station in India somewhere, and the queues were horrendous.
Yep.
And when he eventually they went and had a beer. James May stood in the queue, eventually got to the front, and he'd been in the wrong queue. So,
There you go, you see. Those crazy Top Gear guys.
I don't know if you saw that, but it was...
Never seen it.
They were queuing in India without a doubt.
OK, well, Peter, thank you very much for that. I've not seen the queues in India. The brief... I spent 3 months in Pakistan, no queues, and I spent a week in India. I certainly didn't see any queues, but thank you for that. You're citing they have. I've never seen the Top Gear. I've never seen it. Never seen. I've never seen Top Gear, and I've only seen one edition of Friends. And I've seen this. The one edition of Friends I've seen. This is interesting. This links up with India. The one edition of Friends I've seen was the one where they go to an ice hockey game, and David Schwimmer gets hit in the nose by a puck. Right. I'd seen that. It's the only one I'd seen. I didn't really like it. And then we're in India, and on the last day in India, I got Delhi belly, of course. I hadn't washed my hands when I was fingering their filthy money, and it is filthy. And I then licked my fingers. I didn't. I did something. Anyway, so I got Deli Belly. So we sat in the hotel room watching telly and Friends comes on. I thought, I'll watch my second episode of Friends, OK? And I'm watching it. Yeah, you know it's all right. Then they went to an ice hockey game. I was thinking, oh, no, it's not. And David Schwimmer got hit in the face with it was the same episode. How is that possible? Because there are hundreds of those. I've seen the same episode of Friends twice. That's it. Susan, stay there. You want to talk about queuing, I think. Matt, stay there. You want to talk about breastfeeding. We'll come to you in a second. 03453 009956. Oh, it's fun this morning. BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel news now. Here's Liz.
And there you have a telephone queue, Ian. Very impressive. As you head to Penkridge, the A449 is still partially blocked as recovery work continues on an accident at the junction with Boscombe Lane. As you make your way through Sellyoak, the A38 is looking better than it was between Chapel Lane and Priory Road, going inbound into the centre of Birmingham. Not too bad otherwise. Hagley Road, that seems to be moving quite smoothly around Beaches Lane Cross and also through towards Five Ways Island, passing Bearwood Road, where you've still got some roadworks going on around there. Your match day travel sees Villa fans off to Swansea this afternoon. It's a good 2.5 hours down the M5 and onto the M4, but both those motorway routes are looking OK. Walsall fans going to Stevenage, the M6, the M1, and traffic coping OK again on both those motorway routes so far, although that's a good 2-hour journey as well. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
They dip the cream egg in batter, but the chocolate doesn't completely melt. It sounds a bit of an art form, really. Michelle Dawes.
Sundays, 7 till 9. The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country. BBC WM
95.6.
And breathe. Coming up, we will do the breastfeeding story. A mum who breastfeeds her 5-year-old. What age did you stop breastfeeding? Not your age, the age of the child. 03453 009956. Matt, stay there. Coming to you in a second, but let's go to Susan first in Drayton Bassett. Morning, Susan.
Good morning.
Susan, what would you like to say?
Well, I'd like to comment about your holiday abroad.
Yes.
But before, may I just say something in Doreen's defence?
But please do.
I think they're getting a little bit too oversensitive, and to me, every time somebody uses the word foreigner, they all jump on the bandwagon and start calling people racist. And in Doreen's defence, I think she's of the older generation that grew up in a totally different Britain to what we see today. And I think you have to respect that. We do have a lot more people and a lot more, many different cultures over here than what we used to. But also on the other side, Doreen's entitled to her opinion. And I don't think she means to be racist. I think she's patriotic myself. And I think a lot of people, when someone's being patriotic, immediately they jump on them and say they're being racist.
Well, I can't refer to any of her other calls and other shows, but the point
I'm just saying this morning.
No, the point I thought she was making this morning, I didn't think it was a racist point. I thought it was perhaps delivered, as you say, in slightly old-fashioned language and was perhaps a little clumsy, but I didn't think the point was racist. Had it been, I would have pulled her up on it.
Well, of course you would. You see, to me, I'm probably not as old as Doreen, but I'm not as young as Ranjit and that. And we were brought up to say what we thought. We haven't been brought up in this this scenario where you have to be careful what you say because you're frightened of offending people.
Okay.
We were not brought up in that way. We were brought up to say how we felt and to be blunt. A lot of people say I'm quite blunt. I don't mean to offend people. It's just the era that we were brought up in.
Now,
and I do think the younger generation should respect the older generation, stop jumping on them, calling them all sorts of names.
Susan, you've made that point excellently. Now, what would you like to say about
my
holiday?
On a lighter note, holidays.
Yes.
I lived in with my husband in the Algarve for many years.
Gosh, I bet that was hard.
Sometimes it was, actually.
Really? Oh.
Yeah. And the people used to come from all different countries, and obviously we met different people of different nationalities. And I have to say, and probably somebody will jump on me now, not all the time, but in the majority, the people that were showing bad manners were the British.
Oh.
because especially where children are concerned.
In what do you mean by bad manners?
Well, they didn't. They were selfish. As long as they got what they want, it didn't matter about anybody else. And I've known people, mothers send the children's up to, say, if they wanted drinks or something, to go up and place the order. And I've actually heard this more than once. The mother send, like, the 10-year-old child, just push in, they'll let you in. And they're British people.
Oh, that's no good.
I've heard that. And I have to say, the Portuguese, again, it's the younger generation. They're very polite as well. The older ones aren't. They'll knock you out the way with their elbows. But the younger generation aren't. I think it's a culture thing, and I think it's education.
Susan, thank you very much for your points. 03453 009956. Take your calls on queuing here until 12 o'clock. Then Jenny is sitting in for Daz. Daz is bunking off again. But first, the breastfeeding story that I've been promising you all morning. A mother who still breastfeeds her 5-year-old daughter says it should be a child's choice to stop. I'm really keen to get your thoughts on this. A child's choice to stop? What do you think? And at what age did you stop breastfeeding your children? The World Health Organization recommends sole breastfeeding until 6 months and alongside other food until the age of 2. But 44-year-old Sharon Spink says a child shouldn't be forced to stop. 03453 009956. Sharon joins you on the line now. Morning, Sharon.
Morning, Ian.
So how old exactly is your daughter?
She's 5. She turned 5 on Easter Monday.
Oh, fantastic. Happy birthday to her. And she still breastfeeds?
Yeah.
Why?
Because she wants to. Basically, I'm happy to let her, and she wants to, because I know she wants to, because she comes and asks me to.
Yes. But my children, who are 4 and 2, they want to do lots of things that we don't allow them to do because we think it's inappropriate. Do you not think that that's inappropriate?
No, I don't. It's perfectly normal. It's only Western society that thinks breastfeeding after probably 6 months is inappropriate. The World Health Organization actually recommend that it's to 2 and beyond. They don't have a cut-off at 2. So they say, to carry on and beyond as long as both sides are happy.
What do your friends what do your friends say when you pop round there for a cup of tea and then your 5-year-old starts, supping away?
That rarely happens these days.
Right. Okay.
Very rarely happens. But if it did, they will be absolutely fine with it. I have some really good friends. They're very supportive of me. Her school friends don't mind. They're not bothered because chances are she probably doesn't talk about it in school anyway. And little children aren't bothered. They might ask what she's doing, anything like that. And I explain and they go away.
Do you do it in public, Sharon?
I would do, yeah. When we get to this age, she very rarely asks to feed in public these days, just because it tends to be first thing in the morning and last thing at night.
And what does she say, Sharon? How does she phrase it?
She says, "Can I have mummy milk?" That's her exact words. I want mummy milk.
I want mummy milk. But isn't that the role of a parent to lay down boundaries and to help shape children's behaviour?
Oh yeah, but also they have freedom of choice as well to a degree.
No, they're children. They shouldn't.
Well, why not?
Because they're children. They shouldn't have freedom of choice.
They're human beings at the end of the day. They've got, we have to give them some modicum of intelligence. She chooses what she eats every day, so why can't she choose whether she breastfeeds or not?
She chooses what she eats every day?
Yeah. We're allowed to choose what we eat every day, so why don't I let her choose?
Because she's 5 and because you're the parent.
Yeah.
I don't let...
Yeah, she's learned from being a tiny baby at 6 months old what she wants to eat. So she now, if I give her a choice, do you want a packet of crisps or an apple, she'll choose the apple. Because she's learned from word go with the food of what her body's telling her that she needs. And so I give her the choice to carry on breastfeeding.
My boy is 4 years old, and he is fully aware of boobies, as he likes to call them. He is fully aware that some parts of the body on men and women are private. And imagining my 4-year-old sentient boy drinking from my wife's breasts. It makes me very uncomfortable, Sharon.
You see him as a 4-year-old. For me and Charlotte, she's just another day older. we've done this from day one, and so every day she's just another day older. And in the rest of the world, apart from the Western society, it's perfectly normal. Nobody would bat an eyelid if they saw me feeding her, because children will naturally wean at around about 6 years old. So anywhere between sort of 2 and 7. Some children obviously wean sooner, and some children will obviously wean later than that. What happens though is that nature takes over, and as they grow, their jaw changes shape slightly because of adult teeth coming through and things like that. And so they physically can't latch on anyway once they get to about that age. It's when they start to lose their milk teeth. They're called milk teeth for a reason. It was there because babies, children are meant to drink milk while they have
That's
those
around
teeth.
about 7 and 8 years old, isn't it?
Yeah. Children's immunity doesn't mature until about that age anyway. So by having breast milk, she's getting those extra antibodies that help boost her immune system. And things as well until her own immunity matures.
Do you not think... is expressing not an option for you so that she could drink it from a cup?
Why should I? It's a lot of hard work to express, and not only that, we've got to the point that Charlotte doesn't have very much milk these days anyway.
Right.
So I can't physically express any milk, but it takes time and it takes effort to express milk.
Yes.
When at the end of the day, she can sit on my knee, she can have a feed, and we're done within 5 minutes. Whereas I could be sat there for 20 minutes expressing enough milk.
Does your partner? I don't know what your situation is, but does your partner not get jealous?
No, he doesn't. He's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
No, that's, she has a feed and that's absolutely fine with him. He's really positive about it. He's very supportive.
This has caused quite a storm. It's been in the Daily Mail. I believe you were on this morning,
I was,
this week.
Yeah.
Who was hosting it when you were on?
It was Ruth and Eamon.
Oh, yeah, they're lovely, aren't they? They're lovely.
They were very lovely.
They're very, very nice. Yeah. Why do you think it's, and now you're on here, why do you think it's caused such, and I guess it is controversy?
Oh, yeah, I knew it. Because, unfortunately, when we start talking about breastfeeding, everybody seems to have an opinion about it. It's a very emotive subject. Unfortunately, in our society, we've sexualised breasts so much that people seem to have forgotten what they're there for, which is feeding children. Our bodies produce milk to feed children. Society generally is more than happy to drink breast milk from a cow, but to actually give them human milk for a human is seen as very odd. I don't moved away from that.
I don't buy the whole. Women should go and hide in the toilets when they're breastfeeding their children. I think, hey, listen, go and do it where you want. It is just the thing that a 5-year-old's big. They're big. They're people. They're you know.
And so and back to why I give her a choice, because she's getting she's growing up. She has enough intelligence to know what she does and doesn't want to certain degrees. Obviously, there are things that we're still guiding her with what's right and wrong with certain things, but this is something where she has the intelligence to say, well, actually, yes, I do want to carry on.
Supposing she decides to carry on when she's 10 or 12?
Well, like I said a couple of minutes ago, they can't physically do that.
Right.
Mother Nature's taking over on that one.
Yeah, okay.
You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's about freedom of choice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not upsetting anybody. I've had some very nasty comments recently.
Oh, I bet you have, yeah.
None of which are true. People obviously don't understand a breastfeeding relationship with a child.
What kind of things have they been saying?
It's down to choice. They've said it's child abuse. I'm not letting her grow up. I want her to stay a baby. It's all about my choices and not what she wants to do. I've even been called a paedophile.
Well, that last one sounds ridiculous. But going back to the one before that, it's your choice. It's not hers. There could be something in that, because you do with children. You do have to set boundaries. And yes, you can give the illusion of choice by offering them 2 options for their supper, so they feel that or giving them an option of what coloured pants they wear that day, so they feel they're making a choice. Yeah. But as a parent, you do have to make decisions for your children. You do have to lay down boundaries, don't you?
You do, but there are certain things, like I said, we allow them to have a certain amount of intelligence to know what they want themselves. And if I said to her, do you want mummy milk or do you want a drink of milk? Then some days she might say, well, actually, I want a drink of milk. Another day she'll want, I want mummy milk. I'm not saying that she excludes cow's milk for all the time. She doesn't. She'll she'll make choices. You can't force a child to breastfeed if they don't want to. So there have been times when she's said no, that she doesn't want to feed. But also try telling her that she can't have a feed, and you'll know about it, because she'll sit there and ask and ask and ask and ask, because she knows that's what she wants.
Sharon, absolutely fascinating. Thanks very much for your time this morning.
All right, thank you very much.
Nice to talk to you. Thank you very much indeed. That's Sharon Spink. Breastfeeds her 5-year-old daughter. Just turned 5 Easter Monday. Good for her. Well done. There's a few... What a nice lady. And she puts forward her point very intelligently, so good for her. 03453 009956. It still sits uncomfortably with me. A couple of things there sit uncomfortably with me. Giving children choices. 4 and 5-year-olds, do we give them choices? Important choices. What colour pants do you want to wear today, son? You got green or yellow? What do you want for your supper? You got jacket potato or have you got pasta? What do you want to watch on the television? You've got Postman Pat or Mr. Maker. Those are the choices. Do you want mummy milk or cow milk? Is that a choice you would give to a 5-year-old? Really? 5-year-olds, they are young people. They are sentient, they are aware, they have a certain degree of intelligence, they have knowledge. They should, at that stage, be getting the beginnings of knowledge. No, they should certainly have a certain knowledge about parts of the body. What parts are private, what parts are, that shouldn't be necessarily touched in public. Or maybe you think this is perfectly fine and I'm being a little bit of a sensitive old whinge bag. 03453 009956. Breastfeeding children at the age of 5. Is it right?
More goals, more games. Hear live and exclusive FM commentary of Swansea versus Villa with the latest from Baggies Blues, Wolves and Walsall.
BBC WM 95.6.
Matt's in Solihull. Matt, you've been waiting for ages. Thank you, Matt. What would you like to say?
All right. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I've been listening and on phone-in programmes for the last 30 years. Yours is definitely the best. But
thank you, Matt. You're very kind.
You slightly put me off this morning. I suppose, which was good in a way. But you started talking about boobs and about breastfeeding and the lot.
Yes.
Well, you see, my wife of 12 years, Valerie, she has the biggest boobs in the world.
Sorry?
I'd back her against anybody. And she does flash them now and again. I don't know what is it to upset me or what or get me going. I'm not sure.
Yes.
But you have a marvellous programme this morning because you have a bit to excite everybody and upset them and get them going.
Well, hang on. I think what's your wife's name? Valerie, did you say?
Valerie, yes.
So I think, Matt, you've got everybody going with the thought of your wife, Valerie, having the biggest boobs in the world.
She has, definitely. Marilyn Monroe wouldn't bring drinks of water to her.
She flashes them?
Yes.
Where?
And she's getting on. I won't say what age she is, but she's old enough to have sense. But she does like flashing them.
Where does she flash her boobs?
Well, sometimes she comes out of the bathroom and she, on purpose, I think, she lets on she's forgot to cover them up, you know.
Okay, so she does it at home.
And I'm an old pensioner looking, you know, it's terrible.
So, but she doesn't do it in Tesco's or down the pub or anything?
Oh God, gee, no. It's a private do for me, like.
Good, well, Matt, if I were you, I'd enjoy that private do.
Yes, sometimes, but not all the time, you know.
Got to have a bit of respect.
As the saying is, there's a time and place for everything, but this is very private kind of a thing, you know. No, she wouldn't flash for everybody, not at all.
Well, good for her, Matt.
Yes, but you have a lovely programme this morning, and I don't think Doreen is racist, really, you know. She's just giving her views.
She's giving her views. Matt, thank you very much indeed. That wasn't quite the call I was expecting to have. Mo, how can you follow Valerie's massive boobs? It's tricky, isn't it?
I would prefer not to.
So would I. If I'm completely honest, Mo, so would I. What have you called in about?
Well, it's to do with queuing.
Go on.
Excuse me.
Yes.
And what it is, Ian, I don't drive anymore due to an accident many years ago.
Oh, dear.
And which means I have to use public transport, which means also a lot of buses. In my area, we're very lucky with buses. And that means, again, that I have to queue at times. Now, the people who cause the most problems at bus stops, and I do take them on, Ian,
yes,
are white,
males.
Okay.
And they are English.
Yes.
Because I challenge them, they respond.
What age are they, Mo?
Anything between, I'd say, 20 and 40.
Oh, really? So it's mature people as well? Hello?
Yeah,
Yes.
20 and 40.
Yes.
Yeah, mature, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's them, and I let them know that I point to where the back of the queue is. And, you know, we've all had to go to the back of the queue, and they look at me as if I have just dropped off another planet, and how dare you speak to me? But I just quietly and hopefully diplomatically let them know we are, you know, this is a queue, and you can't just barge in.
And do they listen?
Yes.
Well, that's something. Again, I think that is a British thing. If you highlight to a Brit that they have missed the queue, to put it politely, very few of them will turn around and say, "Jog on, love." Most of them will go, "Oh, I'm sorry," and they'll get their place in the queue.
Well, they don't say I'm sorry.
Well.
That, you know, they very often say, "What's it got to do with you?"
Yeah, well, that's them just trying to regain a little bit of pride. But they join the back of the queue. If you said that to a Frenchman...
Sorry?
If you said that to a Frenchman probably wouldn't even look at you, or he'd give you a Gallic shrug. Gaelic.
Yeah, but Ian,
Garlic.
you know the old saying in Rome, we do as the Romans do?
Yes.
Now, if we're in another country,
yes,
and it's not part of their culture to queue, then we have to fit in with them, not them.
No, we don't. Another way of putting it is we sink to their level, and I will not do that, Mo.
No,
I will not sink to the level of Italians.
Listen, somebody also brought up the situation at a bar.
Yeah.
Where, you know, queuing doesn't apply.
It doesn't really work there, no.
Well, in my case it does. Because the problem is, with queuing in this country, too many people don't speak up. Now, you can do it without being loud or, you know, insulting. And I will say, excuse me, but I was before this person. Or I was before these persons.
Do you ever do the, "Oi, there's a queue"?
That wouldn't work.
No. Hey,
that
Mo.
would not work.
Mo, listen, going back to this breastfeeding thing, did you hear me talking to Sharon Spinks, the mum who breastfeeds her 5-year-old daughter? What do you reckon to that?
Well, it doesn't form a very nice picture in your mind. But again, you know, each to their own, Ian.
It sounds a little bit weird to me, and I can't quite put my finger on why it's weird. I don't think it's paedophilia. Of course, it's not. I don't think it's particularly abusive, but it sits very uncomfortably with me, Mo. But I can't explain why.
No, I know what you mean. And the part that I think affected me the most was when she talked about being in other friends' or relatives' homes.
Yeah.
And if the child wanted the, you know, mummy milk then, she would just let it happen. Is it always a good thing to give in to your child?
No.
I say no.
No, of course it's not. The thing about children having choices, I let my boys think they have a choice, but both of the outcomes I offer them are outcomes I'm happy with and outcomes I want. Where do you want to go today? Do you want to go to the park or do you want to go to the science museum? I'd be happy with both of those options.
Yeah.
But the option of, do you want cow milk or mummy milk, that, I just, they should be drinking from a cup by that age.
Yes. Well, she probably is.
She probably
does
as well. You're right. Mo, thank you. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Mo. 03453 009956. Do you want cow milk or do you want mummy milk? Have you ever drunk breast milk? Ever? Producer Joe? Of course you have. Of course you have. You've got a kid. You've never tried it. You didn't try breast milk. You're doing that reluctant shaking of the head, which I think means yes. I have done. It was in the fridge. I did ask my wife. She said, no, don't be so disgusting. So I found some in the fridge and I had a little sip. It's not as nice as cow milk, but it works. It works. Scott's in Wolverhampton. Scott, have you ever tried breast milk?
I had by mistake.
Oh, really? What happened?
Well, when I was with my ex-wife, obviously she was breastfeeding our child.
Yes.
She put it in the fridge. I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to work, so like half asleep. And I put it in my coffee. And I thought the milk was off, but I carried on drinking it. I just couldn't be bothered. And then when I got back, she asked me what happened to the breast milk.
It does taste a little bit sour, doesn't it?
It tastes like goat milk.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's exactly what it tastes. I mean, not particularly unpleasant, not as good as your Blue Top or whatever. But you did have some. Well, good. And when you found out it was breast milk, what were your thoughts?
I was like, okay.
Yeah, well.
I was like, it's been a long time since I've been that close to you.
Scott, you've called in about queuing, Scott. What would you like to say?
Yeah, what was wrong with that guy earlier? Which
one? Narrow it down, please.
The one about being racist and that.
Oh, this was the fella who brought in the Ukraine and Russia and said that by me talking about my holiday, I was creating racism.
I think he was just after an argument tonight, to be honest.
This was supposed to be, Scott, the light-hearted little throwaway thing that we might have got 3 or 4 calls about. Instead, it's turned into the implosion of BBC WM. People are phoning up to attack other people. Lots of old rivalries are coming up to the surface. All it was, I was queuing for the bus in Euro Disney to go to my hotel. Loads of people from all around the world pushed in front of me. Foreigners can't queue. It's not racist, is it? It's not aggressive.
No,
it's a fact.
Happened to my daughter in India.
Go on.
When she went with her mum to India, they said when she got back, the queuing to go on the train, it was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
So you're trying to get off the train, and people are pushing you back to get on the train. And she said it was an absolute nightmare, the queuing system.
One place, it reminds me, thank you for that, Scott. One place you would think the queuing for the trains would be quite good is Japan. And I think they queue in shops in Japan. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did. They don't queue for trains in Japan. They don't. The pictures you've seen of people, professional people squeezing people onto trains, that happens. That actually happens. There's no queue. When it's busy, there's no queue to get on the train in Japan. It's every man, woman, child and cat for themselves as you try and squeeze onto those bad boys. 03453 009956. Cliff's in Tipton. Morning, Cliff.
Good morning, Iain.
Ever tried breast milk?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay.
No.
Do you regret not trying it? Is it one thing on your bucket list?
I have far more important items on my list. To be quite honest.
Okay.
But I admire the way you're handling your programme this morning with a tongue in the cheek.
I'm trying to steer it through rather choppy waters this morning.
Yes. Doreen and Mo having a go at each other. I couldn't think of a better combination, like Laura and Hardy.
It's yes, there's been a lot of that.
Queuing. It isn't only young folks. I was waiting for a bus one day from Dudley bus station.
Yep.
And there were about 4 or 5 ahead of me, and these 2 elderly ladies joined the queue after me. I looked down to open some chewing gum or something like that, and before I knew it, these 2 ladies shrieked out, "Oh, the bus is here," knocked me out of the way and went to the head of the queue. And I thought, well, what are they doing that for, And they straddled on the other bus. What? They could just about get in through the doorway and sat down on the chair that I wanted to sit down on.
Yeah.
And I think that some older folks are very rude indeed.
Yeah.
They're very rude in doctors' surgeries, in chemists, in shops, waiting for you at the bus. And as regards that lady who made a comment about it's an age thing, well, I have a friend who's 81. He took up computers at the age of 73. He's young at heart. He talks to the kids as if they were his age, and the kids talk to him the same way. And I think that using the excuse of age is just a cut excuse for this little Britain mentality that we are British and all the rest are foreigners. But the Americans don't queue either.
Do they not? I'm trying to remember, and I was in America a few weeks ago, but we weren't really in a queuing situation, so they don't do it, do they?
The only time the Americans queue is for soup kitchens. Otherwise, they just make one mad rush. And
they just go for it. Cliff, thank you very much indeed. 03453 009956. Cliff raises a really good point that I kind of forgotten about, that once you get to a certain age, it would appear that you feel you are excluded from things like queuing. He cleverly described the scene of two old women straddling a bus. You do see that, don't you, with older people? Is that an age thing, that older people, it's a generalisation, of course, but that a significant number of older people don't feel the need to queue? Why is that? Is that because they realise that time is precious and they shouldn't be wasting time queuing? You know, is that it? 03453 009956. Your calls on that, your calls on breastfeeding. Terry, stay there. I will speak to you in a second. Right now, this is BBC WM 95.6. It's 10:45 exactly. Here's the travel with Liz.
Thank you, Ian. As you head in and out of Birmingham, you'll find Hagley Road has snarled up a little bit along the A456, passing Monument Road towards Five Ways Island, slightly congested as well. Better news in Penkridge, though. The A449 clear of that accident now. The junction with Boscomore Lane near the pedestrian crossing. The traffic's flowing much better through there. Your match day travel sees Aston Villa fans off to Swansea for this afternoon's game. It's a couple of hours' journey down the M5 and the M4, though traffic along the M5 seems to be okay so far today. No reported delays on the M4 either as you head towards Swansea. And you'll find that Walsall fans are off to Stevenage this afternoon. The M6, the M1 also moving freely so far. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
The voice of Birmingham in the Black Country.
BBC WM
95.6.
Morning, this is Iain Lee, BBC WM 95.6, here every Saturday morning between 9 and 12. Wasn't here last week, I was in Paris. We went to Paris, we went to Euro Disney. While I was there, I noticed that the only people queuing were the British. People from the Arab nations didn't queue. People from France, Italy, Germany didn't queue. The Americans, they kind of flirted with queuing, but once the moment came, they all rushed forward, it seemed. So, I've just thrown out there as what was meant to be a light-hearted topic in between the seriousness of talking about cancer and breastfeeding. Why don't people respect the queue? Well, it's into a rather heated debate. 03453 009956. Still taking your calls as well on breastfeeding. We spoke to Sharon Spink. She's a mum. She's got a 5-year-old daughter. She says it's the daughter's choice as to when she stops breastfeeding. I say that's not right. As a parent, you have to make the choices. And if the child wants to breastfeed at 5, tough luck. I guess I was going to use another phrase there. It's probably inappropriate. Tough luck. 03453 009956. At what age did you stop breastfeeding? Terry's in Coseley. Morning, Terry.
Good morning.
What age did you stop breastfeeding?
Well, a few months ago, I think.
Oh, good lad. Well done. Fair play. Terry, what would you like to say?
Well, all I'd like to say was I've recently become, where I can have a pass to go on a bus.
You've recently become very, very old.
Yes.
Yes, good for you.
And there's one thing I don't do and I wouldn't do is podge a queue. I'd sooner hang back and wait at the back rather than push through. But the worst people I've ever seen do it, now quite honestly I was amazed, it's much older people with white hair. Because a guy told me you can catch a bus from Wolverhampton to Birmingham.
Yeah.
Wolverhampton, rather, to Bridgnorth on a Saturday morning. He says, he was telling me, he said, watch the white-headed ones. He said, because as soon as the bus pulls up, wash them all in front of you. And quite frankly, I didn't believe him till I saw it for myself.
Why is that, do you think, Terry?
They just... I mean, you can make excuses saying time's short and this is that and other things, but at the end of the day, it's just rude, you know. You know, we're Brits. We keep blaming the French and the Yanks. We're as bad as any of them.
And another thing I've noticed, and I'd love your thoughts on this, dear listener, old people are rude seems to be the theme that's coming through. Another thing, I'm not necessarily saying it's what I believe, but another thing, Terry, is older people tend not to thank you if you open the door for them.
Exactly. I'll give way for a guy the other week in a car, and it really turns me bad in a bad manner. When you give way for them and they just drive past without it. I mean, it doesn't take a second just to put your hand up to say thank you. But I was outside the golf course and I had to back right up the road. It's a narrow, twisted road. I had to back right up the road for him because there was a van parked on the one side. So I had to back right up. And he just, a white-headed guy again, he obviously come from the golf course, and he just drove right past, as if it was his right to come first.
Terry, well, listen, we're going to throw that out. Thank you very much. I'm only keeping it short because I've realised I've got loads more to cram in. So thank you very much for that. Liz, we'll speak to you after 11 if that's all right. 03453 009956. OK, so turns out foreigners can't queue. And now we're kind of swinging this around a bit, that Brits of a certain age, the white-haired bunch, are just as rude as some of the continentals. If you are, let's say, over 70, shall we? Should we say over 70? If you're over 70, why? Why is that? Why do you push to the front of the queue? Why don't you say thank you when someone opens a door? Or do you disagree with this thread that seems to be surfacing naturally, that older people are just as rude as the French? 03453 009956. Now, I mean, sometimes you have to do a real quantum leap when you're doing a show like this, and there is no smooth segue from speaking about queuing to disabled children. There's no smooth segue, so I'm just going to clunk the gears together, make an awful racket, and hopefully we'll forget about the noise. How hard is it to bring up a disabled child? Hey, listen, kids who are not disabled are hard enough. Imagine if they've got a medical condition that requires extra effort. What are the priorities and the pressures of doing it? Well, a West Midlands-based charity says it's getting a record number of calls for help from parents of disabled children. Cutbacks have meant councils and health providers have had to reduce service provision across the board. The charity New Life says it's resulted in a massive increase in demand for its services. Well, Jane Racker is a Birmingham mum of 3. Morning, Jane. Did I get your surname right?
You did. Well done. Most people don't.
I could see it coming, and I was panicking slightly, but we got there. Jane, tell us your story. What's your situation?
I have 3 kids, and my middle kid, James, who's now 14, was born unexpectedly early at 25 weeks.
Gosh.
And unfortunately, he had a brain hemorrhage around the time of his birth, which left him with brain damage. And so he has cerebral palsy, which means that in his case, he can't walk, he can't use his left hand, he can't talk. He has severe learning disabilities and epilepsy, which means he needs daily medication. And he's also, a little bit further down the line, we discovered he was severely autistic as well. So he's got quite a big basket of disabilities.
And how... Sorry, did you say he's 14?
He's 14 now, yes.
He's 14. And if this question is insensitive, then please tell me to mind my own business. Is he expected to live a full life in terms of years?
Yes, that's an interesting point, actually. People do sometimes ask me if he's got a limited lifespan, and none of the medical people have ever mentioned it. And I think the answer is that as long as he gets the physical care he needs and the mental care, there's no reason he can't live as long as anyone else. Now,
you have made the decision to put James into a special school.
Yes.
At what point did you make the decision?
At a point where our family could no longer look after him properly. The other family members were suffering. I was literally breaking down. And also, just as importantly, James himself was also suffering because we couldn't provide what he needed at home. Even with all the help in the world, there came a point where it just wasn't possible.
What did he need? What was your daily routine like with James living with you?
Well, there were lots of different angles for him because of the different disabilities, but I think the starting point I would take is the nights, because providing care during a day is almost like doing a shift, and then when the children go to bed, as long as they sleep through, you have a sort of pattern to your life. But he, with his autism and his physical disabilities and his epilepsy, needed a lot of supervision at night, so he would often have a seizure, and then you'd have to look after him, and sometimes if he'd stopped breathing and gone blue, you'd have to call an ambulance.
Oh, my gosh.
So he needed night care and also postural management as well, because sometimes he would crawl out of his toddler bed and get stuck. He'd get stuck because he couldn't crawl forwards, he'd only go backwards, and then he'd get stuck against a wall. So that was when he was very little.
Yeah.
But just constant supervision, really. And then as he got older and the autism became more pronounced, and he was bigger and stronger, he would get out of his bed at night, and unfortunately he's doubly incontinent. So he would sometimes move his bowels, and then he would just play with what was in there and smear it all over the place. And, of course, then you'd have to change him, disinfect the whole room, all of this in the middle of the night. So that meant that, really, you didn't get normal sleeping patterns, and that went on for years and years. And,
and that would be exhausting and devastating for you. I mean, having two kids, when they go to bed, it's like, oh, thank goodness, I can rest now. But if you're not even getting that nighttime rest, that's devastating for a parent.
Well, lack of sleep over prolonged periods is actually a form of torture, and it makes people go slightly mad. It reduces them to a terrible state.
I don't know your situation at home, but who was the first person to raise the possibility of moving James into a special school? It's a residential place, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, who first mooted that point?
Me. The support levels out there are absolutely almost non-existent, honestly, especially in Birmingham. So I just knew that we couldn't carry on, and I didn't even know what was out there. I'm very fortunate because I have a background as a lawyer, and I have a very supportive husband and mother. So I had that emotional support and the intellectual capacity, and I went out and just did some research and discovered that there was a former special school that had a residential provision. And I went and found one which I thought could cover all of James's disabilities, which Dame Hannah Rogers School in Devon, which unfortunately is a long way away, but it can meet his needs beautifully. And then I had to fight to get him in there, and that was the trouble. You're fighting on all these fronts, and then you need help, and you're usually the one who has to go and ask for it, and often you're told no. So then you've got to fight the authorities to get the help on top of everything else you're doing.
You've mentioned it's in Devon. You live in Birmingham.
Yes.
That's a huge distance, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's. I wish that he could be nearer. I honestly do. But we've been in a catch-22 because even if we'd wanted to move to Devon to be near James, the problem is that our funding comes from Birmingham City Council.
Right. Okay.
And we won a court case to get that funding. And if we moved, the funding wouldn't automatically follow James. We would be under Devon, and we might have to fight the fight all over again.
There might be some people listening, Jane, and I'm sure you've possibly heard this argument before. You've just shipped him out to make your life easier.
Oh, I believe in me, I've heard that argument
really?
A lot. Yes.
And what's your reaction when someone throws that at you?
I understand how they feel. I mean, from the outside, if you're not used to being in our situation, it's very difficult to imagine. And people think of the mother-child bond and the parent bond, especially with a little child, and especially with a disabled child who's vulnerable. They see it as a very precious thing, almost a sacrament, really. And it's very difficult to imagine how a parent could let go of the care of someone so vulnerable. And I understand that, but I would say to them that we did what was best for him, and he's much better off now. He's safer, he's happier, he's more healthy, he's able to do things that he couldn't do. And also, I think people think that by being in a different place, we don't love him and we don't see him. But actually, we see him all the time.
And I would imagine the quality of the time you see him is much better because you're seeing him and you're not having to change him and clean him and do all of those things that go with it.
Yes. It's actually a slightly different point. Yes, there is that. But it's also the fact that because he's happier, he's more flexible and relaxed. I'll give you one example. When he was living at home, we've got 2 rooms downstairs where there's a television. He would never sit with the rest of the family and watch a film. He wouldn't sit with us. I don't know why. He just couldn't cope with being with all of us in a room watching television. He would sit in the other room and watch child videos like, Postman Pat.
Yeah.
Now, at school, we can all sit together with him on a sofa like a normal family and watch anything.
Fantastic.
And we all just sit and watch it the whole way through, and there's no movement, no muttering, nothing.
Jane, do you feel guilty at all? Did you feel guilty?
No, I don't, honestly, because there was no option, really. I mean, I became suicidally depressed, and if I hadn't done what I did, I don't think I'd be here now. So you have to look at it in that context. But I also know that we weren't able to care for James properly here. So he's now properly cared for, but we also love him and are in regular touch with him. And so we are living the life our family needs to live in order to give everyone in it the best possible chance of health and happiness.
And how often do you see James?
I see him twice a week on Skype calls. He's got an iPad, and we Skype him in his bedroom on Skype. I go down regularly for school meetings and hospital appointments, probably 2 or 3 times a term. Okay. And then every single school holiday, half-term, Christmas, Easter, all of that, we go down and stay with my mother, who's moved down there near him, and we see him every day during the holidays.
Jane, we're running. I could talk to you all morning. The calm way you talk about what must have been, a very tricky situation. One final thing. This is a school. What happens when he turns 18? Do you then have to find another situation, or does he stay there?
Well, I'm just beginning to turn my mind towards that now because he is going to be 15 this year, and so we have to look to his future. And they do have provision for people to stay on. and it's a wonderful place with a fantastic reputation. But even they only take people residentially up to the age of about 22.
Right.
And obviously there's the rest of his life to think of, and I have to say, it scares me.
Jane, whatever I say is going to sound patronising. I guess I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so much for your honesty this morning. I really appreciate it.
That's okay. Thanks for
Jane,
talking to me.
Thank you very much indeed. Wow. You hear something like that. It's Jane Racker. Had sent her severely disabled child to a residential school in Devon. Well, what have your stories and encounters with having disabled children been like? 03453 009956. This is BBC WM 95.6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
It's 11 o'clock. Let's get the latest news now with Nicole Pullman.
The G7 group of leading industrial nations is to impose more sanctions on Russia to punish Moscow for interfering in Ukraine. A pro-Russian group in eastern Ukraine is continuing to hold a party of international monitors, while the Americans have accused Russian military aircraft of seeking to intimidate their neighbours. Stephen Fish is a professor of political science at the University of California in Berkeley. He says Russia's tactics could have serious consequences for President Putin.
I think Putin is making a big mistake here. And I also think he's playing to a domestic audience. I think in purely foreign policy terms, while this feels good to a lot of Russian nationalists right now, I think the costs of this invasion, if that's what it comes to, are going to be very high for Russia.
Police in Birmingham have issued an urgent appeal to trace a missing man whom they describe as extremely vulnerable. Delroy Huxtable, who's 38, has been missing since yesterday morning. He has learning difficulties and was last seen getting onto the number 8 bus in Golden Hillock Road in Small Heath. He was to go to a day centre in Saltley. He's not been seen since. Police are extremely concerned for his welfare. He's described as black with light stubble. He's wearing jeans, a grey jumper with a diamond pattern, a black coat with a hood and black shoes. A Staffordshire teenager with terminal cancer who's raised over £2.5 million for charity has released a YouTube video. 19-year-old Stephen Sutton originally set himself the target of raising £10,000 for the Teenage Cancer Trust when he was first diagnosed. He then changed that to £1 million. Now that's more than doubled after his story spread around the world via social media. A video of him and his family and friends has now been posted online.
I think when Stephen started his bucket list, we never expected it to go where it's gone, and the fact that he's inspired and motivated so many people.
Stephen rang me up and decided that forget the bucket list, don't waste your efforts, let's singly focus on raising money.
Aston Villa have made the trip to Swansea City for this afternoon's game at the Liberty Stadium. There'll be exclusive FM commentary here on BBC WM 95.6 from 3 o'clock, and our build-up starts in an hour with Jenny Wilkes sitting in for Daz Hale on early kick-off. With the Villa owner Randy Lerner refusing to confirm or deny rumours that he's about to sell up, there's a cloud of uncertainty surrounding the club. The manager Paul Lambert says the American businessman will make things clear in his own good time.
Come the end of the season, Randy will say what he's got to say, and I think everybody has to respect that. It's his club, his baby as such. Everybody has to respect that. He's been brilliant to me as an individual. As I said, I'm not privy to everything that goes on. I'm just here to try and win games.
The Albion head coach Pepe Mel says he's desperate to win at home for the first time since he took charge in January, when West Ham come to the Hawthorns this afternoon. The Baggies are 3 points clear of the relegation zone going into the game. And the Birmingham City captain Paul Robinson has urged his teammates to get stuck in against Leeds United at St Andrews this afternoon. Only goal difference is keeping Blues out of the relegation zone in the Championship, with 3 matches of the season to go. The weather, rain throughout the day, but the showers will become less frequent this afternoon. The top temperature, 14 Celsius today, that's 57 Fahrenheit. Blustery showers this evening, but it will feel mild, with the temperatures going no lower than 8 Celsius, 46 Fahrenheit. BBC WM 95.6 News. There's more online at bbc.co.uk/WM.
The Voice. The Voice.
The Voice.
The Voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
You should take in other religions and treat them as you would want to be treated yourself.
We are even more intelligent. They treated me with the utmost respect.
Iain Lee, Saturdays
9 till 12.
BBC WM 95.6.
I'm enjoying myself this morning. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. What a roller coaster ride of topics we've covered this morning. We've talked about cancer. We've talked about a family sending their disabled child to a residential school. We've talked about breastfeeding 5-year-olds, and we've talked about how foreigners can't queue. We're also toying with the idea, and this has arisen naturally. It's not come from me. It's been put out there by a couple of the callers. That old people are rude. Now, we're painting with a very, very broad brush here. Of course we are. But is there any truth in it? Quite often, when there is a mad rush to get on the bus, with disregard for the queue, in this country, it's the older people that are doing it. Oh, and have you ever been to the January sales or the Boxing Day sales? Look out for those white-haired wonders. So, 03453 009956. Take your pick on any of those. There's another 55 minutes to call in. I've got 3 lines free, so now's an excellent time to give us a call. You can also text 81333, start your text WM, or you could send me an email, iain.lee@bbc.co.uk.
Have your say.
Across the West Midlands, call
03453 009956.
BBC WM 95.6.
So much to talk about. Are old people rude? Why can't foreigners queue? Ever tried breast milk? Is breastfeeding a 5-year-old inappropriate? So much to talk about. We'll do a very serious story in about 15 minutes as well about stalking. We'll get to that in a little bit. 03453 009956. Just before the news, we heard there from Jane Racker, who is is the mother of a disabled child. Got 3 kids. The middle one, James, 14, severely disabled, and she made the decision to send him to a residential school in Devon. What are your thoughts on that? It's easy, isn't it? It's easy to make judgments like that. Oh, she's a mum. She should look after her kids. My mum, she's 63, got really bad MS, and she lives in a care home now. She's lived in one for about 4 years. And ultimately, it was mine and my sister's decision to put her in the care home. And I had people, including family members, saying that was the wrong decision, saying it was a selfish decision, saying that I was selfish for putting my mum in a care home. I'm completely confident that what I did was the right thing. I looked at every other option, including me moving in with her moving in with me. We looked at every option, and that was the only one. It's one of the best decisions we've ever made. But we got a lot of abuse from, I got abuse when I mentioned it on the radio, and family members still, 4 years later, will not talk to me because they think what I did was a selfish act. Oh, well, that's a shame, because I'm confident it wasn't. And Jane, who we spoke to, the mum, is confident it wasn't a selfish act to do. A tough act to do? It's not selfish. Well, no, hang on a second. In a way, it is slightly selfish, actually. But selfish isn't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes selfish is a good thing. 03453 009956. Your thoughts on Jane and her situation, and also your experiences. Maybe you have a disabled child. Your experiences on coping with that. Could you ever send them away to a residential school? Marie's in Coseley. Morning, Marie.
Morning.
What would you like to say, Marie?
I'll just say hats off to that lady.
Tell me why.
Well, what a decision to have to make, and It's just a shame that he's had to go to Devon. A distance, but she's got 2 other children to consider, so I don't think it's selfish. I think it's selfless.
It is odd, isn't it, that there are not more facilities available, that there isn't a facility in Birmingham, for goodness sakes. Birmingham is huge, and she's had to go all the way to Devon.
Yeah, well, I haven't got any disabled children, thank goodness, but I have worked with people with disabilities all my working life. And I'm not going to say where, but I did work in a residential place that was for adults with physical disabilities, and most of them had cerebral palsy. It was the only one in Dudley, and it's closed. And they've had to ship out all over the place. And people relied on that place for their adult children, elderly carers, just for respite. It's diabolical. Really,
it is, and these places, these kind of facilities that do help, and respite care, where someone who is sick goes away for a week or 2 weeks. Yeah, it helps the person who's sick, but that really does help the family. It gives the family a break, and it
gives the family a break, and it gives the person a break.
It does seem it seems criminal to me that these facilities are either closing down or having their funding slashed and expected to do the same services with less money. It does seem criminal that in this country we struggle to look after the most vulnerable.
Yeah, well, the elderly, the disabled. Exactly. You're exactly right.
Marie, hang on a second. We're finding out this morning that the elderly are rude. That's not from me. That's coming from the listeners, Marie.
Well, I'm getting there myself, so I partly agree. I think sometimes when you get to a certain age, you do what you want.
You do what you want, Marie. Thank you very much indeed. 03453 00 9956. Are the elderly rude? It's a good question, isn't it? I wish I'd thought of it. I hadn't. It's come from a couple of the callers. You could do a whole show on that. Why are old people rude? If you're old and you're rude, give me a call and let me know why. Or maybe you don't see it. Maybe you don't think it. Liz is in Sutton Coldfield. Morning, Liz.
Morning.
Liz, are old people rude, first of all?
Well, I've done home care for the elderly since the age of 16.
Okay.
And I'm 51 now, and I grew up in South Africa. And I don't think they're rude. I think they just get... I don't know how one would word it. They get... frustrated.
Frustrated, okay.
Yes.
But when that how can that frustration manifest into pushing in at bus queues?
Maybe the medication they're on.
Oh, yeah. It could be. It could be.
But they do. Yes, I called
You've got it about queuing.
Queuing. First, the breastfeeding, which is a bit of a subject for you, I think.
Yes.
In South Africa, they encourage breastfeeding because of the blacks. It's a cheaper way for a mother to feed her child. So it's encouraged, across the board, really.
They encourage the breastfeeding because of the blacks?
Yes.
What does that mean?
Because they're not as, what shall we say, privileged as the whites due to the apartheid days and the old days.
Okay.
So they did encourage breastfeeding. But they do with us, with the white people. I mean, when you've had a baby in South Africa, the clinic through the hospital comes to visit you immediately after the child's born, and they encourage breastfeeding.
But but up to the age of 5?
No, personally, my sister did that. I think it's. I know
it's weird.
Awful.
It's weird, isn't it?
It's not. It's not right. It's not right. And a child, as you say, does not have a choice.
No.
The parent makes the choice until the child gets to a certain age. I mean, but certainly not 4 or 5 years of age.
And did you speak to your sister was breastfeeding her children to the age of 5, was she?
Yes.
And did you speak to her about it and say, for goodness sakes, woman, what on earth are you doing?
I did, but she's like a sergeant major, so, she did what she wanted to do. But, I mean, I just think it's terrible.
Let me read a couple of tweets. We've got Stu has tweeted, it's sick, vile, abuse and perverted. And Citizen X has written, it's verging on some kind of perverted child abuse, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with that, because I think what's happened over the years is maybe men are partially to blame, because it's more, the boobs are more of a sexual thing to them, aren't they?
Yeah.
So if you see a boob hung out somewhere, you want to look as a male.
Oh, no. I find that I'm a male and I am drawn by, natural instincts, but when I see a boob out being sucked on by a baby, it removes all sexuality from it.
I was going to say that would put one off.
Yes.
To me, it's not appropriate. It's not appropriate. It's something you do, behind closed doors. I mean, I don't know why they have the baby rooms in public places for people to go and breastfeed and that. I don't think that's... I mean, there is... the breast pumps, they can, Yes, they
Express
can do
yourself.
That. Yes.
Nah. Express yourself. Yes, that kind of thing.
Okay, and another thing, the queuing on the buses.
Yes.
I mean, they do push in on the buses here, but one thing I've noticed is the kids on the buses, they've got these great big handbags, they've got their earphones in, they'll sit down on a seat, but they sit on the first seat, so nobody can pass them. They've got their handbags, and all the elderly are standing up at the front.
Yes, that's not good.
No,
I always, one of my great pleasures is standing up on a bus and giving my seat to an old dear. It makes me feel good about myself.
But it's common courtesy to do that if somebody's a bit older than you. And I mean, they come in, with their trolleys and that, and they've got to stand in the front. I think it's terrible.
Liz, thank you very much indeed. 03 453 00956. Let me just reiterate that sentence from Liz. In South Africa, they encourage breastfeeding because of the blacks. I think what she meant. I think what was meant by that is because of the poverty. I think that's a slightly better way of phrasing it. So don't all phone up and say it's a horrible old racist. No, I don't think that is. I think that she's from South Africa. In South Africa, they encourage breastfeeding because of the poverty. I think is a more appropriate way of putting that. Don't worry. 03453. Had I sensed there was a different intention behind it, I would have pounced on it. Don't worry. 03453 009956. Where are we? Oh, it's 11:15. Phew, a lot to cram in between now and 12. Let's get the travel news with Liz.
Cheers, Ian. As you head to Kings Heath, you'll find it's heavy going on the A435 going into the centre of Birmingham, passing Addison Road. It's busy now through Sheldon on the A45. Still quite congested on parts of the Hagley Road, pockets of congestion, passing Monument Road towards Five Ways Island as well. Make your way to Tamworth. You'll find it slower around the Snowdome roundabout, River Drive and Anchor Drive. Your match day travel, you might want to get a bit of a rig along if you're a Villa fan, going to Swansea this afternoon. 2.5-hour journey down the M5 and onto the M4. Generally that moves okay. One or two bits of congestion. There are various roadworks along the M5 to contend with. Walsall fans going to Stevenage. Again, it's good 2 hours down the M6 and onto the M1, but no reported delays particularly on either of those motorways. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 Travel 08453 002288.
Previously on Hunted.
Somebody taking a picture of you might have the clue, potentially.
Have you got a clue for me?
Sorry?
Have you got a clue?
Avez-vous clue?
No, I live right by the swimming bath.
Oh, sorry, we would have dropped in for a coffee if we'd had the chance.
I'm not defeated yet.
Are you expecting us? You're not.
Wrong location.
Hunted. With Richard Wilford.
This Sunday morning from 9.
BBC WM.
95.6.
I'm liking this morning. One of the reasons is because we're not getting many emails and not getting many texts. What we're getting are lots and lots of phone calls, which is, you're learning. Thank you so much. A few emails, a few texts, but mainly phone calls. That's the way I like it. You have sent some texts, so I'm going to read a few of these, but I prefer the phone calls. On the subject of the lady who breastfeeds her 5-year-old, no pancreas Carl says, I think the child breastfeeds at 5 because it thinks it's in control of the mother. Food can be a very controlling thing. Mother should have stopped this. It's wrong to do this. Stephen Wolves, 5-year-old breastfeeding is wrong. It must be. The woman must have nipples like footballers' studs. Gosh. And on the subject of queuing, Dave in Sutton. 20 years ago, I worked in a hotel. Wedding day, guy at the back of the bar waving a £50 note shouted, I'm next. He lost his temper with me because I didn't serve him straight away. Told me he could buy me and sell me 100 times over. I kept my cool. However, the lemon in his G&T was rolled around the floor to add some flavour before I put it in his drink. Never abuse bar staff and waiters. That's the basic. You're never abusive to a waiter. They will do anything. You just don't know what they're up to. You treat those guys with respect above everybody else. Earlier on in the show, we were speaking to Jane. Jane has made the difficult decision of sending her middle child, who's severely disabled, to a residential school in Devon. She lives in Birmingham. Joe's called in from Solihull. Morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Joe, what's your experience with... you've got disabled grandchildren, is that right?
Yes, I've got a disabled grandson, and he's got severe autism, you have to be one-to-one continually. Also gets disinfectant, everything. It's just one of them. He's also got AHDH. And what it
which one's AHDH? I get confused.
He's overactive.
Okay, right.
And his mum died tragically in November. And that left my son with this little boy, and I've got a daughter of 14 as well.
And how old's the little boy, Joe?
He's 7.
He's 7, OK.
And he's a severe handful. He does get help with after social, but when it comes to holidays, it's just horrendous. And we have applied to a residential school not far from where he lives, and they will accept him. Anyway, the education had a meeting about him about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we was told that they'd been turned down, so we couldn't go to this special school.
Why had he been turned down, Joe?
I don't know. They just said that they thought that social are giving enough package. But I can assure you, I have had him for the last 3 days, and I am wore out. So my son is doing 6 till 2 every day, and this week he's up at 5:30 this morning because he got him up, because he has him every weekend. So all in all, excuse me.
What's going on there, Joe?
Pardon?
What's going on there?
It's all right. The 2 dogs, my sister's just come, and the 2 dogs have gone bananas.
Yes, I can tell.
So as I say, they had this meeting, and they said that no, that was it. But we got in touch with a mediator to see if she could go, get in touch with these people, and they said no, a definite no.
Are there any other options open to your son? Any other residential places that might be able to help?
Well, no, because they have to be funded, you see.
Right.
I don't think they're going to fund him. But it's just that it's so sad, because we did take him to the school, and they did add him for about 3 hours, and they came back and they said there's so much potential there, because this school just deals with autism. He does go to a special school at the moment, but it's just a wide variety of disabilities.
This will be really focused on his specific needs.
Exactly.
It must be very frustrating.
We're just hitting a brick wall.
And what do you think, Joe, when I was speaking to Jane earlier on, she told me that she'd had criticism from people saying, she was just shipping her son out to make her life easier. What do you think about that? What would you think if someone said, your boy's just getting rid of your grandson just to make his life easier?
Well, I would think come and have him for half an hour. That's all they need. Just have him for half an hour. And then, it just takes your whole time. There's nothing you can do while James is around. We have to lock the kitchen off. We have to lock the bathroom off, or she'd be flooded out, because he loves water. It's anything that attracts him. I mean, now at the moment it's bags, plastic bags. The man next door is as good as gold. He's got hundreds of plastic bags. It's just little things, but it's so continual.
That's the thing,
and
relentless.
He doesn't sleep, you see. That's another thing.
Joe, listen, I wish you the best of luck in the future of your son and your grandson. It's it sounds hard enough, and then to lose the mum November last year. Oh dear. Some families seem to be blighted with more than their fair share of tragedy, don't they? 03453 009956.
Darlaston,
Edgbaston,
Erdington,
Paisley,
Cornwall Wood, have your say across the West Midlands.
BBC WM
95.6.
Pat's in Sheldon. Morning, Pat.
Good morning.
Pat, what would you like to say?
First of all, the breastfeeding at 5.
Yep.
Creepy, not right.
There's something odd about it, isn't there?
It makes you feel slightly sick.
5-year-olds know they are boobies. My boy constantly points to my wife's chest and says, "You got big boobies."
Yeah,
and they're aware. They're aware. They're too aware to be supping on that.
Definitely.
Okay.
Can I please tell you one of my pet hates?
Yeah, go on.
Do you and your wife go into the supermarket?
Yes, we do.
Use trolleys?
Yes, we do.
To put your food in?
Yes, we do.
And have you noticed the latest trend, what these, I don't know what to call them, so-called parents, and they stand the kids up in the trolleys?
What? Yes.
While they're doing the shopping, they put the kids to stand up in the trolleys.
We do that.
You do that?
We do that with the boys, yes.
How do you know what they've walked through on the shoes? And you're letting them stand in a supermarket trolley. What people have got to put food in.
Yes.
I think it's disgusting.
Why? Tell me why it's disgusting, Pat.
I've just said you don't know what's on their shoes, what they've walked through. And you've got to put your food in.
But those trolleys, they're left out in the dirt and in the rain. I don't know. Do they ever clean trolleys? I don't think they do they?
Well, yes, if you've seen a couple that hadn't been cleaned.
Yeah.
Now, think about it.
Yes, no, you're right.
Say one of your children had walked through some dog cat mess, somebody been sick or had a wee, or
Okay, so
you never know what it is.
It could have been
And you
poo,
stand them
sick,
up.
or wee. Yes.
And it's going onto the trolley.
Yes.
People come along, they buy cooked meats, they buy all sorts of
But
food.
the meats will be sealed.
Yeah.
They're not. The meat isn't going to touch the poo, the sick, or the wee.
It still can be on the packaging as you're unwrapping it.
Okay.
You don't know.
You should clean your
I
hands.
just think it's a dirty, filthy habit.
It's your responsibility, Pat, to clean your hands when you prepare
No, it's
food.
your responsibility not to stand your kids up in the trolley, but somebody else has got to put their food in.
But they enjoy it so much. They get so much pleasure from it, and it's a great way to make sure they don't run off.
Well, if you've got any control over your kids, you wouldn't let them run off anyway.
Oh, 2 and 4-year-olds, they run off all the time. You can't control that.
Well, what about these wrists? The wrist straps.
I'm not going to put a wrist strap on my child like a dog, and also that would.
It's not like being a dog.
Of course it is. You can't.
No, it's not.
tie a
It's
child
keeping
up.
them safe.
Put them in the trolley. They can stand up in the trolley, and then they can help as well. And they're great help. They pull the food off the shelves.
No.
They put the food onto the
Sorry,
conveyor
you and
belt.
I will disagree about that one. Anyway, may I go on to about the queues?
They don't. Of course, they have the seats at the front of the trolley.
Oh yeah,
but
that's
you're
fine.
okay with that. My boys refuse to sit in the seats, and also the 4-year-old's too big.
Yeah, but you see kids of 4 standing in trolleys.
Yeah. Oh, it's
I'm
nice.
not on about little babies sitting in the seat.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Oh, but babies are filthy.
But for them standing with the shoes,
Yeah.
no, it's wrong.
If I took, okay, Pat, let's see if we can reach a compromise. If I took their shoes off, would you be happy with that?
Yeah.
All right, I'll do that next time I'm in Tesco or Sainsbury's or Waitrose.
Okay, that's fair enough.
There we go.
Okay, that's great.
Hang on a second, Pat. Hang on a second. I've just thought of something. Producer Joe's just reminded me of something. If my boys take their shoes off and stand in the trolleys, then they might get, I don't know, as you said, poo, wee or sick on their socks from the other children that have stood on there. I think I'll keep their shoes on.
Oh, okay, that's up to you. But it's just one of my pet hates. I hate to
Pat,
see.
are old people rude?
No, ruder than anybody else.
And this isn't coming from me, so please don't think, dear listener, that this is an attack on the elderly from me. This has come from several callers this morning who have implied that old people are rude, that they don't respect the bus queue.
I think that it's more with the younger generation up to the age of about the late 30s. Yes. I'll give you an instance. You know, do you ever go on public transport?
All the time, baby.
Right.
I mean, Pat.
You see parents, well, some of them, in the 20s with a couple of 3 kids, and the kids are sitting on seats on full buses.
Yes.
When elderly people get on, or ordinary people with bags of shopping, in my day, your parents would have made you stand up and offer your seat.
I tell you what, I don't.
They just sit there oblivious. They couldn't care less.
I have done this before. And
You're
I don't,
ignorant.
Yes, I don't like this when I'm on a bus or on a train and I see a mum who's got a load of shopping. She's got a couple of kids with her, and I stand up and say, "Oh, would you like to sit down?" "Oh, yeah, thank you so much."
And the kids jump in.
Then she sends her kids to sit down. No, I wasn't offering the children a seat, madam. I was offering you a seat.
Disgusting. Yeah, I agree with you.
Pat, thank you. We agreed on something. It's disgusting. Rob's in Womble. Morning, Rob.
Morning.
Rob, what have you got for us?
I just wanted to tell you about the all-time classic I've seen with queuing.
Go on.
Me and the wife went to Egypt on holiday. We went for 2 years. The second year was great.
It's a long holiday.
But the first year, it was... we were a bit naive, I suppose, and we booked into a hotel that was predominantly Russian.
Ah, okay.
With a few Italians.
Yes.
Anyway, we... obviously all the food was geared up for the Russians as well. We tended to eat a lot on the snack bars because it was all inclusive.
Yeah.
Then we was down on the beach, and there was the bar, and then there was a snack bar by the side of it.
Yeah.
And because so many different nationalities, what they did was they put some chicken and chips on the front wrapped in cling film.
Yeah.
And a chicken burger.
Beautiful.
And a salad with chicken.
All wrapped in cling film. Gorgeous.
Yeah. Now, this was about 11 o'clock when I put them out, and about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it was still there.
Oh.
And you just used to point to them, and then they'd make it a fresh one. Obviously, you didn't eat those.
Yeah.
They're just for show. Anyway, I was in a queue of about 6 or 7, and this Russian woman come. Big bustler I was, just walked straight into the front of the queue, put her arm in front of me, and grabbed this chicken burger in clean film. And I walked off, opened it up, and I wolfed it down.
Oh, dear.
Now, I don't know whether I spent a couple of days in bed because I never saw her again, or whether that buried her where I dropped on the beach.
She would probably have gone to hospital after that if he'd been eating chicken that had been wrapped in cling film left on a beach.
Oh, I was probably buried on the beach, I don't know.
Oh,
but I ain't knocking them, like, it's just their culture. Or even with the sunbeds, they'd think nothing of having 2 sunbeds, putting a towel on each, one by the seafront and one at the back in the shade.
Rob,
They'd alternate.
Rob, we know the Russians are rude, that's a fact. Look, what they just barged into Crimea, haven't they? What do you think about old people, Rob? Are they rude?
I wouldn't class them. I mean, I'm 59, pushing 60, so I don't know, I'm sort of middle of the road. I'm not old and not young. But I've seen it from both sides. You get the elderly, particularly queues, they'll sometimes bustle away to the front, and queues at the supermarket, they'll try and nudge in. But, no, I've never seen anything.
Rob. Rob, thank you very much indeed. Haggis is in Kings Winford. Morning, Haggis.
Morning, Ian.
I ate haggis for the first time ever this week.
You ate it?
Yes.
Oh,
it's
right.
It's a food as well as a name.
Well, I've only got one leg, so you must have had my leg then.
Well, it was delicious. Your other leg was very oaty.
Oh, well, no, I've still got this one.
Okay, good for you, lad. What have we got in for haggis?
Anyway, jokes apart.
Yes.
Now, you was on about old people moaning.
Yeah.
And the reason I sent the text in was because years ago, I mean, I'm 51 now, but years ago, if there was an old guy walking down the pavement, me and the lads, we would walk into the road to let him walk past.
Yes.
Now, there's no respect because all the young kids, I know I'm in my chair now, but even before that, there'd be a gang of kids and they wouldn't move out the road for me. And it's like, I can understand why the old ones are moaning. Does that make sense?
Well, I can understand you moaning if you're in a wheelchair and I've pushed my mum in a wheelchair and some people don't move, and I can understand you moaning if people aren't moving out of the way because of your chair.
Oh, they don't see me because I'm only in this chair. I'm only 3 foot high. I've said this to Adrian Goldberg before.
Yeah.
I've had a woman walking towards me, talking on a phone at the hospital, and I knew she was going to land up on my lap.
But listen, lucky you. I get people doing that to me, and I'm 6'3". I'll be walking down the street, and I can see someone who's texting away or is on their phone. I'm thinking, you're not going to see me, and they walk straight into me. So that can happen to everyone.
Yeah, but what I'm on about is about old people moaning.
Yeah.
Of course they're going to moan nowadays because I don't think the kids today, unless they've had good parenting, that they understand and respect them.
Haggis, I appreciate your call. Fingers crossed you get another lady falling on your lap as soon as possible. 03453 009956. It's been a very, very odd show this morning. We've gone from cancer to the queuing to breastfeeding to old people rude. Give us a call. We've got 30 minutes left.
More goals, more games. Hear live and exclusive FM commentary of Swansea versus Villa with the latest from Baggies, Blues, Wolves and Walsall.
BBC WM 95.6.
Trevor's in Yardley. Morning, Trevor.
Good morning, young man.
Trevor, what would you like to say, sir?
Can you bear with me just 1 second? I'm just getting on the bus.
Oh, blimey, OK. I hope you've queued.
Right, are all people rude? No way.
Well, hang on, you're using your bus on a phone. Hang on, no, let me rephrase that. You're using your phone on a bus. Yes.
No, they're not. I'm fourth of 12 children.
Yes.
My mother and father are in the 90s now, and they're the most polite people you'd ever wish to meet. The problem with, people are saying about bus queues, kids, they've got no respect.
But hang on, we're hearing stories about old people not having any respect. We've all seen old people barging into the bus queue.
Yeah, but you want to go down? You want to go? Try to go down Acot's Green, down by in Acot's Green Village in the afternoon when the children come out of school, because they've got no respect whatsoever. They're pushing the old people over.
Yeah, and that's disgusting.
Get onto the bus
Yeah,
first.
that's disgusting.
And they just stand in the gangway, so when the old people come to get on the bus, they can't get on there.
Well, there's
no room for it to get through.
that is bad, Trevor. And yes, young people. I like to think that most young people are pretty decent, but there are some young people that don't have manners. But
there's a lot of them down in Acot's Green.
But that doesn't explain the old people pushing into the bus queue at other times.
Well, I'd say I'm 63. I'm 4 to 12. My mother and father are in the 90s, and they're the most polite people you'd ever meet. My granddad was, well, my dad would stand back and let somebody else, a young woman with a baby or something, go on the bus first.
Trevor, some people, and I say this with the greatest respect, some people might think that you're being rude by making a phone call on a bus. There are some people who frown at that sort of behaviour.
Well, I just got on the bus just as your man rang me back.
Okay,
I
well,
do appreciate the fact I shouldn't have done this, but I'm on the bus.
Trevor, listen. You go and enjoy your bus journey. I hope you have a good time. Thank you for that. Let's go to John very quickly, then we'll move on. John, what would you like to say?
Hello, Ian. You're on about the buses and people on about the children sitting on the seats when adults are standing.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the kids are really respectful and decent and do get up to let older people sit down. The problem is, years ago, when it was Birmingham City Transport in Birmingham, not Travel West Midlands, they used to have the rules on the buses, and one of those rules quite clearly stated any child travelling at half fare or free must not occupy a seat when an adult is standing. Now, that sign's been taken down, and I have spoken to Travel West Midlands about it, and their reason is they had to take it down because it's in breach of the children's human rights to be asked to stand to give a seat to another passenger.
We shouldn't need signs.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have signs.
Yeah. Regarding elderly people pushing the way up the bus stop, in some ways I can understand it, because sometimes you had a gentleman on about he was opening a packet of chewing gum, and two old ears went past him.
Yeah.
Well, you get some people standing where there's several buses making the same bus shelter, same bus stop, and people who don't want the bus stand there instead of saying, come through if you want this bus.
Yeah.
And then obviously elderly people are worried they're going to miss the bus. And especially when he stood there opening chewing gum, they were entitled to go past him. And regarding elderly people being rude, yes, some are, but not all of them.
John, thank you very much indeed. 03453 009956 only, keeping it quiet, so I want to move on to something else. So we've got a guest waiting. The family of a Birmingham woman who committed suicide, it's on the front page of some of the papers today, who committed suicide after being harassed by her ex-boyfriend, are calling for tougher sentences for stalkers. Birmingham Crown Court heard how 23-year-old Ryan Day from Oldbury subjected Kamaljeet Sidhu to a campaign of harassment, which led to her taking her own life in October last year. Day, who pleaded guilty, was sentenced on Friday to 2 years in prison, but told he could be out after just a year. Stalking only became a criminal offence in 2012, and the maximum sentence is 5 years. Well, we can speak now to Kamaljeet's mother, Sarabjit Sidhu. Good morning, Sarabjit. Sarabjit, tell me about Kamaljeet. What was she like?
She was a very jolly person, very down to earth, very open with everybody, very friendly, out there to help everybody that she could. She was outgoing, she was a jolly person.
Mm. And did she let you know how concerned she was about the attention that Ryan Day was giving her?
Never, no. What I did know was, towards the time leading to her death, was that a few weeks beforehand she was saying that she's broken off with him, he won't stop pestering her, and we just left it at that. We're thinking, no, she's an adult, she would tell us more if there was anything more. There's no signs of harassment. She didn't look sad. basically she was wanting to move on. She was hoping to move on.
The story's on the front page of the Birmingham Mail today. And some of the things that Ryan Day did to your daughter include sitting outside her home in the early hours of the morning.
Yes, which he did, yes.
Taking her mobile phone and ringing her day and night.
Yep, pestering myself, yes.
Following Kamaljet into a restaurant where she was forced to hide under a table.
Yes.
Hacking into her Facebook account.
Yes.
And to some people, those things might not sound like a lot, but if it's happening continuously and over an extended period of time, it can be devastating, can't it? You said just there that Ryan was hassling you as well. What did he do to you?
He came knocking on my door whenever he felt like it. He used to come and park on my drive. And each time I said to him that I'm going to phone the police, just will you please move? He used to move, then he used to come back again. One stage I did call the police, and then my daughter Cam, because we don't know what he had said to her, we don't know how he frightened her and how he harassed her, she was like pleading to her. She goes, Mom, don't call the police, it's going to get nasty. So basically she was scared for herself, she was scared for the family. God knows what he had said to her. We don't know how he harassed her, we don't know how he blackmailed her.
But it was upsetting enough for your daughter to take her own life.
She was forced to take her own life. She did not commit suicide for her selfish needs, no. She was forced to take her life. Because she wasn't aware of the stalking line out there, that there was help out there. If she knew, she probably would have told somebody.
Day was sentenced on Friday to 2 years in prison. He'll probably serve a year.
Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous.
Tell me more about your thoughts on that sentence.
Absolutely ridiculous. I'm ashamed to be born in this country. I'm so ashamed to be British born. It's giving out the wrong sentence to every man out there now who is stalking a woman and thinking he can get away with it. 1, 2 years? That's nothing. He'll be out again. He'll be out again harassing another Cam Sidhu. He'll be out again harassing another Claire Wood. I mean, I don't want to get any personal, but if that was Judge Chambers' own family member, would he give him the same sentence? No.
The maximum sentence for stalking is 5 years.
Well, I wish he had 5 years.
Yeah.
I wish he had 5 years.
Does 5 years to me? It still sounds.
It's still nothing. For any parent out there has lost a dear one, no sentence is going to be enough. No sentence whatsoever.
Now the sentence has been passed, Sergeant. Do you think? I mean, I don't know how to phrase this. I don't want to say move on because it's still so fresh, isn't it? Does it offer you any comfort that he's now in prison?
It doesn't. It's a joke. It's a slap in our face.
Really?
Personally, I think maybe it's because I'm an Asian. Is it because of that? I mean, I could be jumping the gun here, but I don't know. Is it because I'm Asian?
I can understand why you would be asking all kinds of questions. I would like to think, Sergeant, and I don't know the ins and outs, I would like to think it's not because of that. I really would.
To be honest with you, at this time it does feel like that.
Really?
Yes.
I can understand
and I'm
that.
ashamed of the Lord in this country. I'm really ashamed. All I can wish for is that any other mother out there who's going through the same thing as I am, whether she's brown, black or white, shouldn't go through this. There should be a tougher sentence in future so every man out there can learn that stalking is banned. It shouldn't happen. Especially when you've lost somebody's young child's life.
I'm looking at a picture of Cam now, and she was obviously a very beautiful young woman, and you say a delightful person to know.
She was well loved. She was well loved everywhere. Everybody loved her to bits.
Yeah. I'm really sorry for your loss, Sergeant. I know that probably means nothing.
It doesn't, no.
No, of course not. And
nobody whatsoever out there knows what I'm going through.
No, of course they don't. Of course they don't. And I hope that people look at this case and start to reassess the laws and the sentences around this kind of behaviour, because 2 years for what you've been through, it's not enough, is it at all?
No sentence is going to be enough for me, but 2 years is just a slap in the face.
Sergeant, I really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What can you say? What can you say to a mum who lost her daughter in October, and the fella that is responsible for her death Gets 2 years, he'll be out in a year. What can you say? What a brave woman. That's Sarabjit Sidhu, who is the mother of Kamaljeet Sidhu. 03453 009956 is the telephone number if you want to give us a call. You can give us a call about that if you'd like, or you can give us a call about any other bits and pieces that you fancy. It really has been, this is one of the joys of doing a show like this, it really has been a roller coaster, and we've heard some amazing stories, haven't we? Talking to Sarabjit there, speaking to Jane, who sent her disabled son to live in a residential school, and hearing your stories about queuing. I know it sounds flippant to say it after that, but you know, all corners are covered on this show. 03453 009956. Right, this is BBC WM 95.6. Let's get the travel. Here's Liz.
Thank you, Ian. We're getting reports of some sort of traffic problem on the A34 around Great Worley, the junction with Walsall Road. Please tell us they are on the way to the scene. It's busy through Sparkhill on that stretch of the A34 as you head in and out of Birmingham. But it's picked up for the moment as you will make your way through Kings Heath and the A435 around Ulster Road. Parts of the A5 are looking a little bit congested as you head away towards Wall Island. Of course, there are some roadworks going on around there. Your matchday travel sees Villa fans off to Swansea. No problems down the M5 or onto the M4, but it's a good 2-hour journey, so you might want to get a bit of a move on, not least because there are a couple of sets of roadworks to contend with further along the M5. Walsall fans going off to Stevenage. Again, it's a couple of hours journey via the M6 and the M1, but both the motorway routes are looking fine. If you can update us, call BBC WM 95.6 travel 08453 002288.
Ian Lee
On BBC WM
95.6.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
Where do you go from there? Well, you go to Robert in Hay Mills, who has his own shopping trolley. Morning, Robert.
Morning, Ian.
Robert, what would you like to say?
Well, I was listening to you about the lady moaning about children in the trolleys.
Yes.
And it got to me thinking, wonder, blimey, if they stop the children from getting, which they have done at the supermarket where I go.
Yeah.
But they haven't stopped people putting their trolleys in yet, I hope. Because, I mean, basically, well, I have to, when you think about it, children are walking along the pavement, right? But I have to drag a trolley along the pavement as well. But I have to put it into the trolley because there's no other way of doing it.
Oh, so have you got one of those old ladies' trolleys that they pull behind them?
Yeah, well, I haven't got the 4 one. I've got the 2 one.
Is it tartan?
Yes.
It is tartan. Oh, fantastic. Good for you. So when you go to the supermarket, you get a shopping trolley and you put your trolley in there.
Well, you have to because it'd be awkward.
Dear. Well, that caller is going to be disgusted by you because there is more chance of your trolley having gone through, and this was her list, poo, wee and sick, than there is of my children's feet. There's more chance of your wheels being dirty than my boys' shoes.
I don't know. I mean, basically, the only other way around is they'd have to put a hook on the outside of it.
There would be one way. Robert, just on a tangent, ever tried breast milk?
No, I don't.
You've never had a go at it?
No, I don't want to. Thank you very much.
OK, Robert, thank you very much indeed. There was a shop in London that was going to sell, they made a big hoo-ha. They were going to sell breast milk ice cream. And on the night of the launch, Health and Safety came in and said, no, you can't do it. You can't do it. It's not pasteurised. 03453 009956. The last 15 minutes of the show are always slightly awkward because you are getting, we're kind of getting calls about everything. The light stuff followed by the hard stuff. So apologies if any of these clunking of gears seems inappropriate. It's just the way this show works. We spoke a few minutes ago to Sarabjit Sidhu, who's the mother of Kamaljeet, Cam, who was stalked and harassed and ended up taking her own life. Ryan Day, the gentleman who stalked her, was sentenced to 2 years on Friday. Barry's in Tamworth. Barry, you want to talk about that? What would you like to say?
Yeah, that lady saying, is it because you're Asian, like, oh, no way. What it is, it's the laws and us.
Yeah.
And I remember one incident I'll never forget, it still upsets me when I think about it today. And nobody was brought to justice, the perpetrators. And that was that lady and the disabled daughter in the last...
They committed suicide, didn't they? Because they were receiving so much harassment and bullying from members of their community.
Yeah,
is that right?
And nobody took any notice of them. You know, all the authorities, nobody took a blimey notice. And look what the end result was.
And they went to the police and everything, didn't they? And very, very little was done.
They went to the police, the council, you know, and nobody took a blimey notice. And also the lad was slightly disabled, wasn't he, as well, like, you know. I mean, to think that lady, you know, she was dealing with disabled children, and she was having to deal with scum as well, like, you know. I mean, that's what there was, scum. And nobody was given there was no justice for that lady. I mean, what happened, I just cannot believe that anything like that can happen. No, that lady, the Asian, no, it happens just when you read the paper and you hear about these crimes being committed, and then, you know, the sentence they get. It's just a joke, ain't it?
Barry, you're right, and I can thank you, Barry. And the subject was saying, is it because I'm Asian he's received such a light sentence? I'm 99% confident, no. Can't say 100%. I'm 99% confident, no, it isn't because of that. It's because the law is flawed. But I don't in any way judge Sargent for thinking that. I can completely understand why she would be thinking that, and I don't think we could criticise her for thinking that at all. She's a woman in a lot of pain who is asking a lot of questions. And stalking is, it's a tough thing to prove. How do you prove someone is sat outside your house 15 hours a day? How do you prove someone has been pestering you? Yeah, you can prove that they've been phoning you up a lot, but can you go to the police and say, I've been getting loads of phone calls from this guy? Can you go to the police with that? Change your number. Millie's in Aston. Morning, Millie.
Good morning, darling.
Queuing, go on.
Right. When I was living in Germany...
Yes. Oh.
And I go shopping...
Yeah.
You don't queue. You just get on the bus.
No, that's not right. It's not right, Millie.
If you stand there, they want to know why you're there. They just come in and they get on the bus.
Yeah.
I don't see the queuing. When I'm in New York, they don't queue. They just stand outside the bus.
Yeah.
Forever. Right? And you just get on the bus. But it's the British people that queue.
And good for us. We're the last vestige of humanity.
But, you notice that even the people that got the buggies now, they get in front of you. You're there before them. They push that buggy on your foot. Yeah?
Yeah.
To get on the bus. Like, if you don't exist, they look in your face. Like, you are, you know, like, I could get on because I got my buggy. No, that don't wash with me.
Yeah.
Right? I was there first.
Yeah.
Yeah? Now, if this was like before time, when the bus drivers and them used to say, first two. Yeah?
Yes.
We would never get on because people just walk in front of you. And it would cause a lot of argument because people going to say it can cause people to fight in the line.
There is a lot of rivalry. My boys aren't in buggies now, but there is a lot of rivalry between parents at bus stops and buggies because there's only ever room for 2 buggies.
Right.
And I've had the thing where I've been the first buggy there, and then a couple of pushy mums have turned up, and they've got on before me, and the bus driver says, "Sorry, mate, no more."
Right.
I've been waiting. I've been waiting, and I did actually do. I've been waiting here for ages.
It is. That's right. Yeah, because you see, if these days, like those days now, people be fighting every day.
Yes.
Because people do not have respect for you.
There is no respect left. There is no respect anywhere in the world. Well, there is some. But I've had that. Pushy mums. Joined by Jenny Wilkes. Morning, Jenny.
Good morning, Ian.
You're sitting in for Daz.
I am indeed.
You look like you could be a queuer. You queue, don't you?
Yeah, I do. But I'm like you know. I do get that. I get miffed and might just give them a bit of a look.
It's the look. I was giving them the look in Paris and Euro Disney last week, where no one was queuing.
Oh,
they
don't get it there, do they?
No, they don't. And I was giving them the look, and I was doing the. And then I was tweeting furiously about how... And my wife, who's half Greek, thought it was hilarious. She said, you're such a brick to forget queuing. I can't forget queuing. If we forget queuing, then civilization and humanity is pointless.
It's about being fair, isn't it? We think it's got to be fair.
It's fairness.
Yes.
You're sitting in for Daz today, Jenny. What have you got?
I am. Actually, it's the last early kick-off of the season.
Oh, is the football season coming to an end?
Well, it's coming to an end in a couple of weeks, but next week we've got Blues kick-off early. Don't say that.
I don't like football.
No, and the week after that, because it's the last end of the Premier League, it's all on the Sunday.
Oh, OK.
So it's the last early kick-off.
But then we'll have World Cup, won't we?
We will have World Cup. But there's going to be a bit of a gap, and actually I'm going to be talking about that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to know, for people not like you, Ian, who really love football, what will you do in the gap between the end of the football season and the start of the World Cup?
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
Oh, blimey. I tell you, something I meant to mention today and I forgot. I've been disgusted by the BBC this week.
Oh.
Disgusted. I was listening to World at One, Radio 4, Posh, on Dead Posh, on Tuesday. The first 15 minutes was about David Moyes.
Yeah.
First 15 minutes. So a millionaire loses his job and gets a massive payout. Oh, and by the way, this is happening in the Ukraine and Syria.
It is a big story, though.
But it's not that big.
It is.
How is it that big?
It's Manchester United. They're the biggest club in the world.
Yeah, they're the biggest football club. It's still a minority thing, isn't it?
Not in this country.
Oh, blimey, I'm in the wrong. Anything else, or is that your lot? I'm sure you've got loads today, haven't you?
We'll also be talking about your end-of-season celebrations as we come towards the end of the season, although it's dodgy times, isn't it, for Albion and Villa, and Blues are all a bit sort of, ooh.
Oh, really?
It's only Wolves who are calm.
Right.
So that's OK, and Walsall who are safe and happy. But today, in a strange quirk of fate, all of our 5 clubs are kicking off at 3:00 this afternoon. Now, that doesn't happen very often.
That's exciting.
So we've got 5 big games. Swansea against Villa. Frank Enrigo are there. Albion against West Ham. Steve Herman on DAB in the Black Country. Blues v Leeds, they're at home. Can they win a game at home? Richard Wilford is there on DAB in Birmingham. Coventry against Wolves. Mike Taylor has gone to Northampton because that's where Coventry play, don't ask. And Stevenage against Walsall with Tom Marlowe. Reports on those 2 games as well. And we're looking ahead to tomorrow's UEFA Women's Champions League semi-final, second leg. Biggest game in the history of Birmingham City ladies.
Wow.
Our man, Rob Gurney, he's off to Sweden with the Blues ladies, and we'll preview that as well.
He's off to Sweden, is he?
He
he's
is,
going to Sweden, is he? That's
it's hard
not
life,
fair,
isn't it? Eh?
Jenny, excellent stuff. Busy show. Speak
Thank
to you later
darling.
on. Thank you very much. 03453 009956. Probably not time to call my show, but if you want to speak to Jenny, you're more than welcome to start dialing up for that. Richard.
Hello.
Do you agree with me? There was far too much coverage of David Moyes this week.
Oh, yes.
15 minutes on the World at One, 15 minutes on PM. It's okay. A millionaire has lost his job. 15 minutes. Meanwhile, this is what's happening in the Ukraine.
Oh, I feel sorry for him.
Oh, I'm going to cry. He's going to get a £10 million payout. Boo hoo hoo.
Anyway, to pay me to £10 million.
Yeah, I know. What have you got for us?
I sent a text in because I tended to agree with the woman about children in shopping trolleys. Because I had an instance in a supermarket where somebody had trotted some dog feces, and it did end up on my box of cereal.
Oh, no. Dirty.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So I just to say that it does happen sometimes. It's a very, very small thing, really. It doesn't happen every day, obviously, but it's just one of those things.
Richard, thank you. I will make sure... sorry, you're going to say something else?
Yeah, what does annoy me in supermarkets with parents...
Yeah.
They let children eat things in the supermarket before they're paid for.
No, I don't know. And producer Joe does that, and I think that's wrong. I will not let my boys eat stuff until we've paid for it.
No, you're not teaching the children. They have to pay for things before they have them.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to give open a bag of crisps while we're going around in a trolley just to keep them quiet. They need to learn patience. When we've paid for it, you can have it then.
Yeah, my daughter-in-law was doing it with my grandson. I said, no, he must learn. He must be taught to learn. He has to pay for things before he has them.
Richard, thank you very much. I'm moving on. I'm going to squeeze in Morris before we finish. Morning, Morris.
Hiya, fella.
What would you like to
I
say?
agree with you with David Moyes.
Oh, man.
For the first time for a long time, I turned off the BBC and I went to a local station.
Good for you.
I was sick to death of it.
I meant to kick off the show with this morning, and I forgot. It is ridiculous. So a man who's not very good at his job, who's looking after a load of overpaid babies, has lost his job and will get a huge payout. Who cares?
How I fully agree with you, fella.
Morris, thank you very much indeed. You see, I meant to start with that because it's got me so angry this week. The Moyes coverage. It's just been relentless. Front page of all the papers. The BBC just giving way too much time to this. There's a ship that sunk in South Korea. There's Russia and America are ramping up the stakes. There are far more important things than that, aren't there? Oh, now I'm angry again now. And if I'd have thrown this out at the start of the show, the anger would have worked its way out of my system. Now I've got to drive home angry. Flipping it. Thanks a lot for nothing, guys. Listen, I enjoyed that. Lots of phone calls. You're learning. Cutting down on the texts and emails and increasing the phone calls. That's the way I like it. If you do want to email me in the week, you're more than welcome to. We've had a few suggestions for stories and bits and pieces, and I like that. So do send me an email. It's iain.lee, IAIN, it's spelled the proper way, .lee at bbc.co.uk. Maybe you want to have a comment on something we've talked about today, or maybe there's something in your life that you think we should be doing on this show. So do get in touch and let us know. If you missed any of the show, it'll be up on BBC iPlayer a little bit later on, and I thoroughly recommend. Well, it's very rarely I say this, but there were so many good bits in today's show, not because of me, but because of you, the caller. And I thank you for that. Right, that's it. That's your lot. I'm going to shut up now. Back next week at 9 o'clock. Until then, have a good week and stick around because Jenny's up next.
The voice of Birmingham and the Black Country.
BBC WM 95.6.
12 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. It's Jenny Wilkes sitting in for Daz Hale on early kick-off. 5 games all kicking off at 3